Hello, everyone. Welcome to Debate Review Part 2. This is, in fact, Part 2. The Part 1 you can find over on Mark Reed's channel. I can speak English, I promise. Part 1, Grayson, our friend Grayson, he took Kent Hovind up on his challenge and went to Dinosaur Adventure Land, risking life and limb, and took on the old guy. I can't think of a nice way to say it. Yes.
If not his sanity, let's face it. Let's be real here. Yeah, no, I would be very trepidatious. I would be very hesitant to walk into that place, and he did. I really admire Grayson. He's absolutely fantastic.
It was pretty daring, and so far we're only about halfway through the actual debate part. Hence the part 2. Again, part 1 is on Mark's channel and linked in the description. But he's not just holding his own; he's owning the stage so far. Yeah. Basically, to recap, he and Kent are both up on that little stage in the Genesis Baptist Church, and Kent's just been throwing out questions. Oh, you think nothing exploded and created the universe? Then Grayson explains that's not right. This is etc. And there's a bunch of great science. If you haven't seen part 1, definitely do check that out. But so far, Kent hasn't posed a serious challenge that Grayson wasn't able to answer off the top of his head.
Yeah, this is the thing. He was not prepared for this in any way, and that's what gets me. Grayson is just completely unprepared, just walked in there, didn't know there'd be a debate, and he's just got every single answer for science, basically. It's basically just answering every question in science, and very honestly and upfront. And yeah, it's incredible. I really love it.
Yeah, it's very cool. And okay, preliminaries, etc. I'm joined once again, as always, by I got the right side, by Mark Reed. How are you today, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm tired. I wanted to be up a bit earlier, but I just slept through my alarm, so I was very tired from last night. And then I got up late, so I feel really bad. I was supposed to be on something a bit earlier, but I just tired. Just tired, just very tired. But I'm really happy to do this. I didn't want to end the last time, but it was like we were staring down the barrel of halfway through, and like it'd been 3 or 4 hours, and we're like, we're not going to finish this. There's no way. So, but I'm glad we're coming back to it. I really am. And I'm glad to be here with you. It's going to be a lot of fun. So yeah,
Hell yeah.
I am. Oh, look, Robin says, I am prepared to debate Ken. I kind of recommend it for people starting out, atheists starting out. Number one, it's a rite of passage. So, everybody kind of debates Ken starting out. Number two is it's so good to get your preparation down, because he has the same things he says over and over and over. I don't know. And Grayson said, like, the people watching him, one guy was asleep. I can't imagine what it'd be like to sit in that church, I guess, and watch him do the same arguments, the same jokes, day in, day out. You spend a year at Dell, and I can't, that is insane. I can't imagine that. I mean, even atheists that I think have good arguments, and I think I could listen to the same arguments over and over and over for a year, kind of thing. That would be, just insanity.
Yeah. I mean, we've all heard Kent so many times. We could do his arguments, and these people are there every week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't understand. I guess it makes some people happy. There's been some research done to show that people often enjoy hearing the same story that they already know over again, because there's no unexpected surprises, so you can kind of dig into the details more, I guess. Maybe that's sort of what's going on? I'm speculating.
Oh, speculate away. I'm all for it. Like, who knows? I have no idea.
For sure, but Fortunately, we do have a person who knows a few things for sure. It's our good friend Grayson from Critical Base Theory, who is also linked in the descriptions and all over the place. Wonderful things. And he has been on fire lately. Not just taking on Kent, but he's done a guest appearance on Skep Talk over on the line, and he's done a bunch of stuff. What keeps dominating my mind is that he did a intro guide on the amyloid world hypothesis, which not a lot of people even know about, and he's just like, here it is, check it out. It's he's been crushing things.
Very, very good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I guess where we last left off, Grayson had just finished his thought explaining how you can get self-replicating molecules without necessarily needing a pre-existing cell. And I guess we'll take it from here.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
So from your this adding more chemicals, just like an accretion process, is that?
I don't think accretion would be the right word, but maybe like a precipitation or something. But
a quick note.
Yeah, accretion is how the solar system formed, essentially, how planets form. It accretes, so everything sort of bunches up. So Kent's using exactly the wrong word, as per usual. He's got different. He heard a word in a different field and is applying it to this one. But I get what he's saying. It's just.
Yeah, and a quick technical note. This video was filmed at DAL, rebroadcast by Standing for Truth, and so it's not your connection, it's not my connection. Right. There's actual lag baked into the video.
Yes. So when Donnie's on the screen, we can see Donnie moving and he's fine, and that the video stutters kind of thing. So we know that it's the feed coming from DAL, because I think the old piano in the back is the highest level of technology they have over there. DAL and Ken Hovind, they're famous for their technical problems, right? They're actually one of the things that people are sort of point out, that he even has a technical crew, or used to before. I think one of them stole his money and ran away or something, but he has his own technical people, and idiots like us in at our home doing this have better technical setups than he does. He has no end of problems. So it's actually quite funny, because and the reason why I say this is because one of my gripes is he hassles people for gaming, like playing computer games, and then has no idea how to use a computer, not understanding that the reason why they know how to use a computer is because as when they were young, they got into computer gaming. He doesn't understand the connection there. And it's actually, it's like, well, okay, boomer.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
The amino acids are being added onto the amyloid structure.
And where are they coming from to be added on to?
So as we already went over, amino acids are naturally occurring in the environment. Like meteorites are chock full of them.
What do I feel like you wanted him to say rocks there? Kent was setting up him to say rocks. Oh, so you think we came from rocks? Yeah. Oh dear. Yep. I'll save you my Kent Hovind impersonation.
It's pretty fun though. Yeah, a couple of hours even.
Look, best Hovind impersonation goes to Dr. Josh. It is incredible. That's true. Dr. Josh has an amazing, it is, if you heard it, you would think it's actually him. I don't know how he managed to do that, but wow, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's the first time I heard it, it's not just when you're doing an impression, the key is to capture the idiosyncrasies, the essence of the subject. You don't have to sound exactly like them. You don't have to get everything just right, just enough to evoke a clear image of who you're trying to represent. But Dr. Josh, I think, applied his, PhD, big brain Bible study mind to deciphering the secrets of why Kent is the way he is. And he just owns, he should have a PhD in Kentness, I suppose. And we have a gifted Embership from Robin Webster. Thank you, Robin. And that went to, Cosmic Kyle. Excellent.
Cosmic Kyle.
Hell yeah. Yay. Do enjoy all the fun custom emojis. There's lots of them. And members get to vote on the new ones when slots open up. As members add, slots open, and then members vote on the new emoji. So don't blame me for any of the emojis. They were all decided by democratic process.
Yeah.
In theory. And thank you, Robin. I appreciate your constant support. Robin actually, many of you have already heard this, but Robin actually sent me a physical Bible because doing Aaron's Blasphemers Bible show, when I was on the road, I couldn't use the internet to look up Bible like I normally would and be on the show at the same time. So Robin sent me an actual physical Bible because I could not find one. It was so weird. But yeah.
Be a normal person and steal one from one of the motels that you're at. Like, be normal.
I tried, but every hotel I was at didn't have one. I don't think they do that as much anymore, and it's very disappointing.
What version is it?
It's
Is it KJV? Because usually they're KJV in hotels, apparently.
This one is NIV.
NIV. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Which, is good because, I can read Shakespearean because I studied Shakespeare when I was all about the Renaissance fair and whatnot. But most people can't hear Shakespearean clearly.
What do you mean?
Like, if I say, forsooth, thou shalt not pass this way thither till the morrow. A lot of Americans especially will be like, say what?
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Mm-hmm. Jason collects Gideon Bibles to level furniture with. They also make really good doorstops. Oh, that's why there weren't any. Jason already stole them.
Slowly get together and form this, they're calling it the amyloid, right?
Yep.
And then it breaks in half and has two.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get from there to them having a cell membrane, a nucleus, containing DNA? And that seems like a huge jump.
Right. No, it definitely is. So the lipids, which form like the cell membrane, are also naturally occurring. And lipids will naturally form just because of the characteristic they have with a hydrophilic and a hydrophobic end. They naturally form into these little bubble shapes, just like kind of a cell is. And amyloid.
For the audience here, hydro means water, and philic means love, and phobic means hate. So some love water, some hate water.
Yep.
So they arrange themselves away from water or toward water.
Yep.
Okay.
And it doesn't take any.
I enjoy that Kent felt the need to take the opportunity to show that he knows something about science.
Yeah. Well, someone that claims to be a doctor has to, I mean, it's really his lack of credentials that causes him to behave this way, because he's acutely aware that nobody in science actually thinks that he has any science qualifications whatsoever.
Oh no. Well, the mic is picking up the vape.
The sound of you vaping.
Yeah, I'll have to adjust the noise gate. But thank you about the shirt. It's actually purplish. It's just the light for some reason is making it more blue. But I mean, it works.
It's really good color. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I got to admit, I mostly wear gray and black, so I don't have to color coordinate. I find it too hard. I like gray and black goes with everything. So my entire I find myself really I can't color coordinate. I don't have that ability, kind of thing. So I just gray and black. Yay, it works. Everything goes with everything.
It's true. I used to wear gray all the time for similar reasons. Well, also because of Roger Zelazny's novels, the Chronicles of Amber, the main character of the first 5 books, Prince Corwin, his actual royal colors are black and silver. So, it was kind of a thing. Where the hell is that? I'm trying to adjust the sound gate on that microphone, and it's being elusive on me. How dare? Well, That sounds okay. Or, well, it looks okay. The open threshold is at negative 21 decibels and the close is at negative 28. I'll bump it up a little bit and see if that helps. I don't know. That's very peculiar. But downside is I can't hear what's going out. I suppose I could replay my own videos, but...
Usually most programs have a testing thing, like you just test and it records and then you play it back to yourself kind of thing.
Well, that's sort of the thing. Like I'm in OBS, so I can see the volume on the microphone go up. But when I make a small enough noise, I'm snapping next to the microphone, and it's not showing it's picking up anything. I don't know if you guys could hear the snapping, but it's not showing that it's picking up anything.
No, I'm not hearing snapping.
Okay. So I don't know. Maybe we're good now. Hopefully. Maybe. Yes, 9 Princes in Amber. Absolutely. It's such a great fucking story. Anyway. It's a tangent time.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Don't be worried about it. It's really okay. I'm not being annoyed. Nobody in chat seems to be annoyed.
Yeah. If anybody is, I can tell you this. It's temporary. It's the process I'm using in order to quit smoking. I'm down from cigarettes. I went directly to 5% nicotine. I'm down to 1.8%. Within a couple of months, it should be gone entirely.
Good work. Well, be kind to yourself and everything, but that's amazing, Ember. Congratulations. That's really good. Keep it up. I really, that's really good to do.
Yeah, and lots of health benefits. Hopefully, we'll see how it goes. I mean, maybe I used to be a long distance runner. And it wasn't because of cigarettes that I stopped doing it. It was more like a time thing. I find myself out of breath more than I was when I was younger, but I'm also older than I was when I was younger. But there's this. I can still out-climb up. When I bring my kids adventuring, they need to take breaks before I do. I can go right up a mountain, and they, being young and healthy people, between 22 and 17 in that range, I have more stamina than they do. So I'm like,
Yeah, doing well. You'd outrun me. I hate long distance running. It's one of the things that I absolutely can't do. Short distance, I'm fine. Long distance, no. And that's not that I'm unfit or anything. It's just I just don't I don't have the rhythm or whatever.
yeah, I was kind of the same way at first. I loved sprinting. I loved feeling the wind that you're generating by your own motion. That was so cool. Long distance running, you go at a much slower pace because you have to pace yourself. But once I figured out that it was a time to listen to music or listen to an audiobook or something, while also getting exercise and just covering distance, it changed everything. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was more a swimmer when I was younger, so I did sort of really long distance swimming and stuff. So yeah,
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I probably would. I never
love the ocean. I love the ocean. I love
Mhm.
the currents of it. I love the waves. I love everything about the ocean.
Yeah, I wish I got to spend more time at the ocean. Kicking testosterone was a good deal easier than kicking nicotine.
It's not surprising. Nicotine is probably, apart from opioids, it's the most addictive thing ever. It is insanely addictive. So they talk about 2 types of addiction. This is sort of, my mother was a psychologist and this was her speciality, was addiction. So really you're talking about neuroadaptation, which is the way that your brain actually adapts to getting the chemical. So it's a physical thing. And nicotine is highly neuroadaptive, right? But it's also the psychological addiction as well, which is your behavioral addiction, like how much it factors into your life. So look, it's nicotine's bad on both of them. both psychologically and neuroadaptively, it is horrendous on both accounts. Because unlike stuff like opioids, or most opioids, it's a lot easier to do a lot more socially acceptable things like that, which is, you know, a big factor in its psychological addiction. So, but here's the thing: do you know that the neuroadaptation, you can kick that after 2 weeks? After 2 weeks, it's gone. It's very short term. It's that psychological addiction that's the problem. That's the problem.
I've noticed in times in the past when I was forced to quit, like when I joined the Navy, you can't do tobacco stuff officially during your initial training, boot camp and such. I found that after 3 weeks, I was mostly okay. The cravings never went away because it wasn't my choice. It was something I had to do, which is why I started smoking again literally as soon as I got the opportunity. But yeah, the physical component took me about 3 weeks. It's but you know, we do digress again, as one does. Let's let Grayson talk for a change. What do you say?
Who?
I know. What? What are we doing here?
Just dump a bunch of lipids into water. They will just naturally form these little bubbles.
Nobody made them hate the water or love the water. That part was also just
These are chemical properties.
came from the Big Bang. Okay.
They're electrostatic properties. But yes, so these lipids are
So
naturally
is he
occurring in the
trying to say
environment.
what made them hate or love the water?
I think he's playing towards an intelligent design kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which it's entirely backwards. It's cart before the horse. Yeah. The reason evolution seized on them as useful tools was because they had those properties.
Yeah.
Not they were created with those properties, so life would be. If they didn't work that way, then the self-replicating molecules would have gone with something that does. It uses the tools available.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally find them, and amyloids will actually associate with these lipid membranes. Mm-hmm. Like if you have a bunch of amyloids and a bunch of lipids, they will naturally associate together. And it's the same for like nucleoside triphosphates or something, which is sort of the building blocks for DNA. So like ATP is probably the most well-known one. It's like the energy currency of our cells today. And it's one of the building blocks of DNA. So like I said, we know that there are these proton gradients that can be taken advantage of in hydrothermal vents. We know that actually amyloids themselves have certain catalytic properties. They can catalyze not only their own replication, but they can catalyze other reactions like the hydrolysis of ATP, which is how our cells today take ATP and do work, is they hydrolyze those bonds and do work. So we know that amyloids are capable of catalyzing this reaction. So amyloids at least have a fundamental interaction with all of these basic building.
He's talking about producing energy. That ATP is the energy producers of the cell. So he's talking, when he says does work, he's talking about energy, because that's in physics, that's what energy is. It's the ability to do work.
Mm-hmm. Now, he mentioned the hydrothermal vents, and I'm curious whether you think that life began up where the sun can shine and then spread downward, or if it began down deep and then spread upward, and it went, ooh, sunshine, and then just bloop, 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 photosynthesis happened. Like,
we don't know. But that's the thing. I mean, he said that he's not mentioning hydrothermal vents as in that's where life originated. He said that we know this happens because we've observed it in hydrothermal vents. And so a creationist might go, yes, but water would destroy this process. It's like, well, we're not saying it happened there. We're saying we know it can occur naturally because we've observed it occurring naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Blocks in terms of the full picture, every single step of the mechanism worked out to how you get just self-replicating amyloids to a full protocell and eventually to LUCA. Nobody has that full mechanism worked out yet. So again,
should teach it.
I think I've been very clear that I would be against any teacher teaching these mechanisms as fact. I think it should be stressed that these are just hypotheses and that there is no current consensus theory for abiogenesis. I think that any responsible curriculum would stress that.
Okay, I don't remember right now the atomic number of phosphorus, but the ATP, these elements that you're discussing getting together, quite a few of them are beyond carbon. And my understanding is they've been unable to fuse past iron. So if your Big Bang produced hydrogen, helium, a little lithium, how did we get all these elements from?
This is a curious question from Kent because first of all, he already asked Grayson this, but also he knows Grayson's just going to say stellar nucleosynthesis gets you up to iron, and then supernovas and other large-scale events like that create the rare stuff. So why is Kent lobbing? Yeah, why is Kent lobbing such a softball question, knowing Grayson's just going to nail it and base hit, whatever analogy, however you prefer?
I don't think he does. I think he thinks that an answer is going to come back of sort of yes, this happens in this way, and he can kind of go, oh, you believe this happens this way. But Grayson, he has such a good working knowledge of it that it doesn't like. So a lot of what Kent does is appeals to incredulity of his own argument from incredulity. I don't see how that could have happened, and appeals to the incredulity of his audience. He goes, can anybody believe that this happened, kind of thing. So I think that he thinks the answer is going to be something from a non-scientist, and he doesn't realize that Grayson actually has a pretty good working knowledge of how this occurs.
You'd think, nearly an hour in, he'd have picked up on that, not to mention the fact that he's debated Grayson before, but,
right.
Well,
so here's the thing. Kent never changed. Like, if you or I went into a debate like Kent does and got thoroughly spanked like Kent does all the time, we would change. We would adapt our tactics. We will say, okay, well, that didn't work. What's something else I can do? But he does not think that way. He will do the same tired, horrible, debunked, absolutely destroyed arguments until the end of time. And he's just trying to appeal to other people with incredulity. First and foremost, he's relying on people's religious beliefs. So he doesn't have to, I don't know, maybe I'm being too speculative, but when Kent Hovind changes his tactics, I will be shocked and appalled.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen where Kent stole his shtick from in the first place. I don't know that he really understands it because he just copied and pasted the preachers who came before him. But
that's a good point.
Yeah.
From hydrogen. I'd like to make gold out of hydrogen. That'd be cool.
Yeah, so within stars, hydrogen and helium are fused into heavier elements. But you're right, a normal star will fuse up to about iron, which I believe is number 54 on the periodic table.
Iron 26, yeah.
26, yeah. 50, the weight is 54, yes. So, yes, 26.
Depending on the isotope, right?
Yeah. Okay. So you can fuse up to about iron. You can technically go a little bit higher than iron in a star, but you're getting right to a supernova at that point. So what actually happens is when a star goes supernova, you get these waves of intense density as the supernova explodes. And within those really dense regions, you can actually have what's called the R process, which also occurs in some neutron stars, in those really densely packed gravitational neutron stars. This R process in nature is responsible for the elements that are heavier than iron. So gold.
So I want to add on just a little bit. Neutron stars are, as the name implies, they're neutrons. The gravity is so intense that the electrons are actually forced into the atomic nuclei, basically making the entire star a giant neutron. And it's wild. But when a star like that starts stripping material off of another star, because many stars are in binary pairs, and if they happen to be too close, that's one way you can end up with a supernova, is it builds up extrastellar material, which is then compressed down into neutrons, but it's lighter material. It's mostly hydrogen and helium rather than the heavy stuff that the old star was made of. So it stays on the surface and builds up, and it's forced into such density that when it reaches a certain critical point, boom. And that's not the most common supernova, but it's one way to get a supernova.
Yeah. There's also another process called the S process as well. There's another process as well, but I think he's just the R one's a lot easier to understand, so I think he's going for that one. I can't remember even the difference. I'm looking it up. I can't remember the difference between them, to be honest with you. But the R process is easier to understand.
Yeah, and of course, our dear Pragmatic has pulled the data out, and yeah, it is pretty easy to understand because it's right there. And Prag's ahead of us again with the S process.
Oh, really? Well, yeah. Okay. Thanks. Oh, Pragmatic is amazing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. She's nearly omnipresent and very, very nearly all-knowing. We have a lot of divinities in our atheist community here.
Yep.
Supernova actually creates more gold than is found in our entire solar system. So this is a process that we have a pretty decent understanding of in terms of the physics behind the R process, and it's responsible for the creation of the elements that are heavier than iron.
Okay. And they all happen to end up on Earth, too. From the supernova, those all elements all got here safely.
Well, within the current consensus...
It doesn't happen. Earth is made out of these elements that came from supernova.
Yeah, he's...
It's not chance that happened. That's what happened in the universe, and everything's made out of this stuff that came from supernovas.
I'm not sure if he's just playing dumb or if he truly doesn't get it, but he's kind of like straw man presenting it like, oh, well, those elements just happen to be transported to Earth safely. Like, my dude, freaking everything in the Milky Way today is made from blown up stars before. Our star is it's a population 1 star, but it's the 3rd generation of star. Like there were the first stars after the Big Bang, your generation 3s. They blew up, and then the Gen 2s happened, or the population 2s happened. Well, it's both the generation and the population, and then they blew up, and now there's our sun, and like we can see this with our frickin' telescopes and shit. We can see the earlier generations of stars in distant galaxies
blowing up currently, And this is the thing, like, it's like saying, oh, are you telling me water just happened to fall on this town? Yeah, it's called rain. That's what happens. Like,
Yeah, it falls everywhere, and some of it landed there.
Yeah.
It's a scientific paradigm. Our sun is a 3rd generation star. So that means that you've had previous generations of stars within this basic vicinity of the universe. So the elements wouldn't have to travel very far.
Those stars are gone now.
Yes.
Where did they go?
They went supernova.
Oh.
And so they exploded. They created...
They went to a farm upstate.
Yeah.
Oh, Jedi has an interesting point. You may have just been kidding around, Jedi, but this is actually a thing. Like, we can use spectroscopy to determine the chemical composition of a star, and therefore the rough chemical composition of the planets, if there are planets around it. Like, the metallicity of a system tends to match the metallicity of its host star. We can use that and check it against other stars in the neighborhood, and check that against various star-forming regions of a galaxy, and we can, after a fashion, to a certain degree of certainty, determine which stars are related and which supernova gas clouds they formed in. So you kind of can check a star's DNA that way.
Okay.
It's-
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
These heavier elements, and then a lot of that gas recondensed from gravity into our sun and our solar system and our planets.
Okay.
And just in terms of this process and the evidence to support it, the James Webb Telescope has seen these planetary disks, these accretion disks around protostars. It's taken some very beautiful images of little baby stars, little protostars with their own accretion disk, which is forming into planets. And we've analyzed the chemical composition of those disks and seen liquid water in them.
Okay. So then these lipids all got together and started and learned to break apart. And then
Okay, so this is Kent's tactic. So when he gets a sensible answer, he immediately changes the topic immediately. And what I love about this is he is trying to. I mean, this is like it's kind of a gish gallop. I call it the Hovind hustle, where he basically goes through multiple ones. But basically, he's just, oh well, that's sensible. Let's change it to this other thing I want to be incredulous about. Oh, and then these lipids just decide to get to, it's this kind of tactic that is the reason why nobody respects him, because it is so disingenuous and so dishonest. This is why he doesn't get respect. It's really nasty. Oh, well, you may have an answer for that one, but let's see if you've got an answer for this one. The beautiful thing about this video, Grayson has all the answers.
Yeah, it's infuriating the way Hovind does that. The whole let's red herring down this path. Oh, you actually know that one? Well, let's go back over here. Like, why was that whole thing about star formation just to switch back to lipids?
Correct. Yep.
Like, because he couldn't get his candy down that path, so now he's going to try this way. It's almost like a fencing match where Grayson is just there holding his foil super calm, and Kent keeps thrusting and thrusting and thrusting, and Grayson's like not even breaking his line to parry and riposte.
Hydrophilic reaction caused them to get into the nucleus of a cell, or to create the nucleus, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then how did it learn to make the DNA, which is like way off the charts, more complicated than this stuff you're talking about?
Yeah, so a nucleus would be for like eukaryotes, like prokaryotes don't have a nucleus. So that would have been, eukaryotic evolution took like 1 billion years after all of this. So that's a much more complex question. But in terms of the development of DNA, again, this is a pretty open question in science, especially so far, I have not seen much publication about getting from amyloids to a DNA-based system, but we do know that amyloids at least interact with these various nucleobases and could potentially chain them up. But in terms of, an exact mechanism, again, I would have to give the honest answer and say that I don't know, and I have not seen any proposed mechanism.
But until they find it, we have to tell them that God didn't do it, right?
Well, I don't think that anyone's telling any school children.
Oh, you have faith too, see?
That is not what they tell children. Like, they just say, hey, this is what we know scientifically. That's it. And unfortunately for Kent, evolution is a scientific fact. It is. It's been observed. There's tons of evidence for it. We have better evidence for evolution than we do for, germ theory. It's ridiculous how much evidence there is.
Yeah, it's infuriating. But of course, Kent is mischaracterizing. I'm sure there's a bunch of different fallacies we could apply to that, but nobody's out there saying, well, the one thing we know for sure is God didn't do it. Like, nobody even mentions God, unless somebody brings it up, in which case they say, well, nobody's demonstrated such a thing. Maybe, but why would we think that, though? Top G, why review these low-hanging fruits? Just asking out of curiosity. Yeah, normally I don't go play with Kent,
Yeah,
but
no.
our friend Grayson physically went there, and so we're kind of like, yay, Grayson.
Well, not only that, and I feel like I have to address it because I was the one that chose it. You know, it wasn't really Ember that chose this one; it was actually me. It was just Grayson put out so much really good scientific information in such a short amount of time and had answers for every single question. It wasn't more a debate; it was more a teacher with a high school student sort of explaining to them how all of science is known. Like we go through evolution, abiogenesis, stellar evolution, and accretionist. We go through almost everything. It's actually incredible. And so I really wanted to review the debate because not because Kent is low-hanging fruit, but because Grayson is amazing and he needs more support. Like seriously, he needs more support because he's incredible.
Yeah, let's make him a little bigger.
Yeah, sure. I'm
Yeah.
good with that. I'm good with that.
In class, God did not do this.
Okay.
I don't think that that's a characterization of what's happening.
Now, to the real part of evolution, okay, then we have to get to this single cell creature. Textbooks show these family trees, okay? We're all coming from this one has a protist, okay? You believe this single cell creature, whatever you want it, whether it be a protist, a bacteria. Let's see, this one has this one has a protozoa.
We could just call it a single cell.
Single cell creature. That protozoa evolved with Darwinian evolution into all the life forms we see today. Is that what you believe?
Yep. I don't see any reason to reject that other than personal incredulity. I think that's what the
There you go.
evidence supports.
It is incredulous, you got to admit.
Straight up calling him out.
Yeah, it is pretty incredulous. No, you don't understand what. So the argument from personal incredulity is basically, well, I don't find it reasonable myself, so therefore it didn't happen. That is not an argument. It's basically like saying, because there's things that are counterintuitive, right? There's things that are just 100% counterintuitive. You might think it's incredulous that if you drop balls into a gacha thing on random, they will form a bell curve every single time. You may say, hey, I find that incredulous. It happens. That's the weird thing. It actually happens. It forms a bell curve. You might say that, hey, gravitational pull, for instance, that things fall at exactly the same rate, no matter how much they weigh, as long as air density is not a factor. It seems weird. It seems counterintuitive. The heavier one should fall faster. That's not the case, right? These things that we find, and you can put it back to like when people saw the sunset kind of thing. It may be incredulous to say, well, the Earth is going around the sun. It looks like the sun is going around the Earth. Your incredulity doesn't mean anything.
There's so many different things that applies to. Like one thing that immediately jumps to my mind that I personally was incredulous about when I first learned about it is the double slit experiment.
Right.
There's no way light can be both a particle and a wave at the same time. It has to pick one.
Yeah, the wave particle.
And yeah,
weird. Yeah, no, it's weird.
Yeah, there's being incredulous, as Ben Shapiro is fond of saying, facts don't care about your feelings.
Yeah, but he puts his feelings into a lot of arguments himself. So I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it is a good saying. It's a good sort of catchphrase kind of thing. But I think he's a bit hypocritical when it comes to that because he kind of ignores facts and says, why should this religion be forced to do this because of X? And it's like, well, that's just your feeling. That's just a feeling that you have of what is right and wrong. Like it doesn't mean anything. Sorry, I don't want to talk about him. I've already done I did a review. We did a review of him and O'Connor, and I think O'Connor just smoked him. Absolutely smoked him.
In fairness, I I don't think I've ever seen Kent win a debate. Like, even Dapper dives into Dapper Dinosaur, for anybody who's not familiar, does a lot of dunking on creationists. And sometimes he has a long-running series called Kent with Bent, where Bent Hovind, the musician, joins Dapper, and they review some of Kent's old stuff. And even in those cases, I don't think I've ever seen Kent win, ever. And for a guy with hundreds of debates under his belt, you'd think he'd win one by accident at some point.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I think it's amazing. I don't find it to be particularly unbelievable, especially when we have fossil and genetic evidence.
Well, we can talk about either
You
one of
could
those.
argue that he won the one against Jay Bundy. You could argue that. But I think Jay Bundy was mostly trolling him. So even when he wins, he loses.
It's true. It's true. Ian Chen, one of our very first Patreon supporters here on this channel, he really enjoys trolling Kent. The last
allowed back on there, yeah, no, I think
probably. But it was so worth it. The last time he went up against Kent, he just. I forget how he phrased it exactly, but it was something along the lines of, in order to, show you the proper respect that you're due, Dr. Hovind, I too went to a diploma mill and bought a doctorate, so now we can both be doctors, and I can refer to you as doctor with, proper aplomb. Oh, they did not like that, but what can you do?
Similarities be a result of the same guy designed the code, or maybe the same guy made them all.
I would say definitely not the case, because I hear oftentimes whenever we bring up genetic similarities, the response is often to say, oh, that's because of common design. But then if we try to go the reverse process, and if we try to use common design, remember, this is the hallmark of science, to make testable predictions. If we try to use common design to make predictions, it fails. Like when we look at a dolphin and a shark, there's a common design, but they're not at all genetically similar. So you cannot use common design to make predictions, but you can use common descent to make predictions. My example is with a goldfish. If you were to say, is a goldfish more genetically similar to a human or to a shark?
Pragmatic's gotta go. Well, thanks for coming by and doing what you do. We love and appreciate the hell out of you, Prag.
Yeah, absolutely. PC, you are my favorite crystal.
the crystal most likely to actually do some good in your life.
Right. I often recommend pragmatic uses of crystal. Like, forget this spiritual stuff.
Yeah, for reals. On the topic of oh, go ahead.
Do you remember that fundamentalist fail that I did with that woman that was like doing the spirit animal stuff?
Oh, the spirit science person?
Right. I dropped into a stream last night. She was having a stream and I dropped in and it was all like, focus on your timeline, open a portal from your light to this timeline and flow in it. And it's like, okay, well, meditation I can get on board with, but this is just wackadoodle stuff. Like it seems so cultish.
It does get a little bit weird sometimes. When it
was weird.
Yeah, I was trying to get into Wicca because I liked it. The people had a good vibe. The stuff they said, it didn't quite make sense, but it resonated. And so I tried. It makes a lot more sense if you consider most of the things that sound literal are actually metaphorical or poetic or whatever. But you can only push that so far before you're in the same camp as theists who are making excuses for the contradictions in the Bible. Oh, that was just poetic language.
Yeah.
There's limits, but it's still pretty fun. On the common design thing, there's Grayson nails the point sufficiently, but I like to come at it from a different direction and say, well, if there were a common designer, then features we have in common should have the same design because the same designer designed them.
Sure.
So let's look at eyeballs, for instance.
Yep.
The human eyeball has a big old blind spot and a very limited range of the spectrum that it can see. And then there's, squids who don't have that same blind spot. And then there's all these other critters, the freaking mantis shrimp that can see something like 17 million more colors than we can. That's probably an understatement. I'm sure I got the number wrong. It's just these eyeballs are clearly not designed at all, but certainly not by the same designer. So anytime you can predict that if things have a common designer, we can expect to find X. We do not find X ever. So your fan club is following you, Mark.
I know. Actually, I love Justin's amazing. I was playing Pal World with Justin, which we got to do more of, which was a lot of fun until my computer burst into flame for some reason.
Oh no!
It's fine. It's fine. It's just sort of lagged out towards the end, but that's okay. No, much love to Justin. That channel matters now is just past 9,000. Which is the fastest I've seen a channel grow personally, because I don't pay a lot of attention to channels, but they're doing some fantastic work over there. So if you do like debate and sort of conversations about debate topics like flat Earth and theology and all that kind of stuff, matters now because it matters now.
Or now matters.
Now matters. No, it's definitely matters now.
Matters now matters. I don't know. I'm just trying to word play off the top of my head. It doesn't always work. But yeah, it's very, very remarkable growth. And if I'd known, I would have made a Vegeta clip. It's over 9,000. But yeah. Congratulations to those guys. It's good stuff.
Shark. Well, with using common design, you might think, well, it should be more similar to a shark because a goldfish is more similar to a shark in its design. But the evolutionary common descent prediction would be that the goldfish should be more genetically similar to a human because they branched off after the sharks branched away from the evolutionary tree.
Your family tree.
Yes, and then
and we got a $2 alleged from Yahooligan. Thank you. I have to pay every time Mark plugs us.
Yeah,
it seems fair.
Commission from that, yeah. You're actually paying Ember right now, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
That's another long-running tradition when we do these debate reviews. Somebody always tries to send funds, whether it's for a joke or for something serious, to the other one who isn't presently hosting.
Yeah.
Such is life. And when we actually examine the genetics, the goldfish is more genetically similar to a human than to a shark.
Okay, so I got to ask you to put you on my chart here. Do you believe you're related to a goldfish?
In a certain sense, yes. Okay. Because we all have a universal common ancestor.
Okay.
But I will say, in our very first debate, you already asked me this question, and it was with corn.
Oh, corn. I'm sorry. Okay.
So, but I don't know if I want to be the corn.
Do you think you're related to a strawberry? Praise strawberry Jesus.
Do you think you're related to a strawberry? Well, it was actually interesting because last time I engaged Hovind, he sort of said that, and I said, "What do you mean by related? Like, do you mean related as in, sort of thing?" And he actually buckled and said, "Do you think you had a common ancestor?" And I went, "Yes." Because as I pointed out, when you say related, like I can say, "Hey, I'm related to Ember," and the idea that you're getting across is that we have at least sort of some kind of familial connection, like so. You're my fifth cousin, fourth removed, or something, right? That's the what people hear. So it's just a conflation. It's this argument from incredulity, and it's a conflation of terms. He's just conflating related as we understand it in science, which means you have some form of biological link, no matter how far removed, and related as in, you know, like you tell somebody you're related. So if I say to Ember, I'm related to Hugh Jackman, he will assume that like I have a close familial bond, or at least a, you know, distant familial bond. So, you know, the thing is that it doesn't, you can't, I guess what I'm trying to get across is it doesn't sound as incredulous when you say you had a common ancestor, right? That doesn't come across with the same level that Kent's trying to get across kind of thing.
Yeah, because I mean, we can go, what do you mean by related? Like, do we have a grandfather in common? Do we have a 5 times great grandfather in common? Do we have, like, you know, all European people with peachy colored skin are all related if you go back far enough, and then all of humanity are related. Everybody came from Africa. Like, how far back do you want to go? Every living thing on this planet, that was a contentious thing for a while. Are all living things related? Was there a Luca? Until we started to get into microbiology and we discovered the chirality of proteins, and we went, oh, well, this kind of settles it, because
it's in,
you can't, if we weren't all related, then it would be beyond all reasonable possibility that everything on the planet just happened to have the same chirality. So yeah, it's trippy. The timeline of science, what things were debatable and what things were settled by what other things. It's very trippy.
Yeah.
Corn guy or the goldfish guy?
Make your choice.
Okay. I'll pick the goldfish.
Goldfish, okay. Now, Honda Corporation makes motorcycles and cars. They are very dissimilar, okay? But the same company makes them. Could God have made these creatures with some similarities and some great differences at the same time?
Sure. Okay. I mean, if you're gonna ask, could God have done this or done that? I mean, if I grant you, you know, he's an all-powerful, omniscient being, well, of course, yeah, he could do anything.
Sure.
So, of course, anything that you ask, could God have done this or done that? I have to say yes, because God is not a naturalistic hypothesis that we can make predictions using.
Right. I just have to stand in awe and worship and say, wow, you're amazing, God. Okay. Now, what we've observed in all of human recorded history, let's call that the last.
You know what I mean? Like, it's almost verging on pre-sup. It's like, well, God, you know, could God have done all of that? It's like you're kind of assuming he exists to begin with. And I get why he's doing that, because he is a believer in it, but it's almost pre-sup-y kind of thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that I was thinking that Grayson kind of took it a little easy on Kent on that one, because I would have answered it a little bit differently. I'd say, well, no, God couldn't do that, because first one has to exist. If you can demonstrate that your God exists, then maybe he could have done that. But until such time, I have to say no, because I see no reason to think that he did, you know?
And the question would be, what would we expect to see? Like, how do we actually tell that's a God? And the problem is, like Grayson says, we see anything. You can say, hey, that was done by God. That's the problem. There's no testable prediction there. He nailed that one. That you know, whatever we see, including, like you said, like these differences in design, you can say, oh, well, God planned it like that. My one against that would be atavisms. Like, why do we see tails on humans kind of thing? Well, God just designed it to crop up now and again. Like anything, it can explain literally anything. So you can't make testable predictions because there's no counterfactual. There's no, well, if God didn't do it, here's what we expect to see. Because, you know, there is nothing that we wouldn't expect to see if God can do literally anything. And that's his point. And it's a beautiful point, well made. Oh, Grayson, what a guy.
Yeah. Yeah. Speak of the devil, a wild Grayson has appeared.
Oh, Grayson. Hey, if you want to come in, Grayson, I'm more than happy. If you're all right with that, Ember, I'm more than happy.
Yeah. Let me find. Ah, where did I put the discords? I've got it around here somewhere.
Like the response videos from this crowd, like Standing for Truth, Donnie Badinsky or whatever his name is. I just know him as Donnie. And that their response videos are so bad. Like the last response was on the heat problem, and that was hilarious for the amount that it did not cover and did not address the heat problem. Like the heat problem primarily is radioactive decay, and a secondary part of the heat problem is basically how over 6,000 years did all that heat disperse. Another problem with it is how did the friction due to tectonic forces disperse. Another part of it is how did the geothermal heat disperse, kind of thing. And they only addressed the geothermal. They didn't even address like two of the main problems of the heat problem. It's really bad.
Yeah. It was very disappointing, you know. I mean, so many people were there. Erica was there, like, already. Okay, tell us the answer. We want to learn. And it was just, you know what? We're not going to talk about anything except, you know, this one little thing that makes up like 1% of the total heat problem. And even that explanation completely fell flat. I'm like, why? Like, I don't know. What can you do? What can you do? I'm pondering this comment from Top G about knowing that there's no absolute evidence for God, yet Kent cannot define the term. That it's a little confusingly phrased, but
No,
whatever.
Saying that you can't define the term. I think
Maybe. I don't know. That's very peculiar. I'll just pull the thing up so everybody can, future people, hello future people, can see what the hell I'm talking about.
But I really appreciate it. Like Top G, we don't want to be harsh on you, but seriously, dude, please use the pronouns that they give. It's not hard. Just use they.
Yeah, they is perfectly acceptable. Invaluable wisdom of theology. I mean, I did study theology. I'm not sure what the problem is there, but you don't have to study theology in order to doubt the existence of a God that's never been demonstrated. Like, yeah, there's no absolute evidence for God. There's no convincing evidence for God. You don't need absolute evidence. We don't have absolute evidence for general relativity. We don't have absolute evidence for frickin' theory of mind. You don't need absolute evidence. But, you know, any evidence, any good evidence, any credible evidence. If a God were real, if an all-powerful, all omnipresent being were real, demonstrating it should be the easiest thing. I'll borrow a page from our friend Uncle Bobby. I can tell you I have a remote to my monitor. You don't have to take my word for it. I don't have to make a complicated philosophical argument. I can just show you the damn thing. You know, I can say I came from my parents, and I can pull up a picture of them. Demonstrating the reality of a thing that's real is not hard. And when it's something like, oh, God, it should be the easiest thing ever. And yet, nada. So, yeah, we don't need absolute evidence, but come on now.
Well, if you want sort of the wisdom of theology, and I'll go to philosophy as well, you come up with this problem, and I can't remember, it was a previous person to Popper, but it was called the falsifiability problem, or the fallibility problem, and it leads into Popper's falsifiability. You never have absolute evidence of anything, really. That's the problem. Like, so when you say absolute evidence, you're talking about 100% certainty. But the problem comes that we rely on things like our senses, which we have to presume are correct in the first place, or else it's a circular evidence of your senses proving your senses. And we have to assume that the laws of logic are kind of true. The problem comes that when we go backwards, and there's something called the Munchausen trilemma, it basically falls upon dogmatic assertion, circular argument, or infinite regress, one of those three outcomes. So we don't really have absolute evidence of anything. And the problem there is the word you're using, which is absolute. Now, I think what I would do, and what sort of Popper says, is, hey, we've got to take a pragmatic approach and make a number of base level presuppositions for how this reality works, like that our senses are describing reality. That's just one example. But really, we've got to base it on, well, we never have absolute certainty, but we can have a reasonable amount of certainty based upon the amount of evidence that we have. So this whole idea of absolutes, and I just want to add as the last thing, sorry for keeping you, last thing, only Sith deals with absolutes.
Nice.
I love it. So anyway, rant. It's not really a tangent because it was a reaction to the... Anyway, we're joined by Grayson himself. How are you, Grayson?
Hey, guys. Yeah, I'm doing great. Sorry I missed the part of the stream up until now. As soon as I saw that you guys were streaming, I hopped in and said hi.
No, all good, mate. All
but I
good.
did see...
I'm glad you're here.
I did see part one, and it was a great... Like, I really enjoyed hearing all your thoughts and inputs on that. So I'm going to have fun going back and re-listening to the earlier parts of this stream. So I don't know where we're at right now in my conversation with Kent. But yeah, I'm excited to add whatever inputs or answer whatever questions I can about it.
Look, Grayson, I just want to say, and I think I mentioned this over Discord, but I am really impressed. This was a class 1 effort, and you weren't even prepared for this in the slightest. You just walked in and basically tried to educate Kent. I won't say you will, because many people have appeared to do that before, but like, it really was amazing, correct information. You admitted to where we didn't know what we don't know. So it was honest, genuine. I loved it. I thought it was amazing. And I couldn't do that myself. I think you just did a fantastic job. Really impressed me.
Yeah, I really didn't even know that there was going to be a debate or anything. I mean, I had like a suspicion that he might want to do that, but I didn't go there and suggest it or anything. They like his tech people were like, so like after I took the tour, they were like, so are you going to be debating Kent tonight? Or I'm like, I don't know, man. And I guess it just sort of trickled down to me a couple hours beforehand. They're like, okay, we're going to move some things around, and you and Kent are going to have a live debate at the church, and we're asking Donnie if he can moderate. I'm like, okay, sure, why not? I mean, I've already debated Kent 3 times, and so I basically know everything he's going to say, because all he does is repeat himself every debate.
He's not a guy to spring surprises on you in a debate. It's pretty... Yeah. But I still want to say I'm glad you took it. I can only imagine that it might have been a bit, were you a bit sort of, taken aback and scared sort of going in? I would have been like, whoa, that's not, I'm glad you took it, but were you actually worried about how you would do?
I would say that I was cognizant of the fact that I was going to be spending the night and sleeping there after this debate happened.
Right,
so I was trying to like, I didn't want to antagonize any of the people at Dal, but I also didn't want to Kent get away with anything. So my goal was just to try to walk that fine line between like, not letting him get away with anything, like press anything that he says that is wrong, but also not come out there and start being like, like just saying all my, what I really think about Dal, and like bringing up some of Kent's dirty laundry type stuff, which is fair and I think should be highlighted. But I didn't want to do that and step on everybody's toes when I'm like literally.
Oh, absolutely.
Sleeping.
Yeah. No, I get you. I get you.
Totally. Yeah, it's a fair risk. I mean, after all, people have died there before.
Yeah.
Probably a low blow, but I mean, Kent didn't take it very seriously, so.
No, well, he I don't know. It's just yeah. I would be like even. I mean, I still get sort of anxious going into debates. I still like, if I've got to step up and debate on the spot without anything prepared, I still feel a bit anxious about it. Maybe that's just me. But I guess I just want to say, wow, that's incredible performance, Grayson. I can't talk. Yeah, it is highly enough. It's amazing.
I might have been maybe a little bit nervous if it was like anyone else but Kent, but
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
yeah, like if I was at all sort of like if I felt like I was not prepared for any of the topics that Kent talks about, but like, I've just been through this so many times with Kent. Like after my third debate with Kent, I told myself, that's it. I don't have any need to engage with this guy anymore. He doesn't even remember any of the things that we've talked about in any of our debates. Like none of the information sinks in. And so I just thought, there's no point in me doing it. But then in person, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm here. I might as well talk to the guy. And so, now I'm done.
He seemed less condescending. Did you get that as well? Did you feel that as well? He was less condescending towards you?
I feel like maybe just the fact that I had been there the whole day and that I had been, generally pretty friendly. I think maybe he was like, maybe normally he kind of wants to make atheists look stupid on his streams. And so maybe he felt maybe he felt like, he wasn't going to try to make me look stupid up there, or at least to a lesser degree than he normally does when it's just online. Like when it's face to face and he's known me a little bit better. And, we had literally just gotten back from going to dinner with him and his wife. And then we did this debate. And then like he went to bed like immediately after this debate. So that this was pretty much the end of that day. So I think that he was just sort of maybe approaching it slightly different than he does for his normal debates online.
Right.
But I think that he's back to disliking me now that I made my video about my trip to Dinosaur Adventure Land. He says that I lied or twisted the truth. I'm like, I told everything truthfully about how it happened. I legitimately don't know what he even thinks I was lying about, other than the only thing that I've heard him complain about was that I said that his driving was dangerous. And he says that that's just a lie. So.
Well, I mean, he's got videos up of him, rallying or, doing rally driving around these dirt tracks. So it's very weird to say that. And he can, that's the thing. Like, but dangerous is more a subjective perception. You know what I mean? Like,
and like he literally texted me just like an hour ago. He texted me and said, FYI, I'm going to be uploading a review of your Dinosaur Adventure Land video. And so he wants me to see it. I haven't looked at it yet, but he told me that and that was a lot. That was like I haven't talked to him at all basically since, I guess I was on that stream with you, Mark, but I haven't talked to him personally since that trip to Dell. So,
yeah.
And it makes sense. And being on, it's not like anybody would expect you guys to call each other every day or something. In unrelated news, we got a $2 super chat from Robin Webster. Thank you, Robin. And she says, "Great job on Skep Talk, Grayson. I'm envious getting to hang out with Erica and field all the random calls and stuff. Great. So cool. Yeah. And also, yay for me and yay for Mark. I'm not sure. Is that a pelican at the end?
It's a dodo. It's a dodo.
Apparently Oh, we love you, Robin.
I didn't even know that they had dodo emojis. That's great.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. All right, let's get back into this thing.
4,000 or 5,000 years, we've observed dogs make baby dogs, and we might classify dogs, wolves, coyotes in the same category. Is that proof that dogs are related to tomatoes? we've observed tomatoes produce a variety of offspring. I think there are now 400 varieties of tomatoes, okay? But they seem to always make a tomato baby. You believe this chart here shows...
He thinks seedling tomato plants are babies? That's disturbing.
Let's see, I'll pick another one here. They show
Well,
all
and here's the
creatures
thing, like
related.
you could say, hey, you know, plantains have given birth to bananas. It's just a categorization thing. And you can't breed an old plantain with a banana anymore. Like it's too far genetically removed. So, and plus bananas are clonal, that's a whole other story. Yeah, it's
If they're babies, is it wrong to eat the fruits? We're aborting innocent plants.
they do call them baby tomatoes, like they're like those little tiny ones kind of thing. I'll eat them. You know, I'm an atheist. I eat babies. Tomatoes.
I mean, when
There
I was
you go.
when I was having lunch, and the lunch was fried chicken, Kent made the comment that he was like, "Now, do you consider this wrong because chickens are your cousins?" So,
Oh my goodness.
this is the mind of Kent Hovind, ladies and gentlemen.
It's what passes for clever for him, I suppose.
This one has the dog and the tomato and the dinosaur all going back to a common ancestor. What's the best evidence you have ever heard of an animal or plant producing offspring that anybody would consider it's changing to a totally new kind?
So I think honestly the premise is a little bit malformed, because when you have enough like microevolutionary changes, those continue to add up over time to macroscopic changes. So it's like, if I could express it in an analogy, it's like you're showing me a foot ruler, 12 inches, and saying, show me a mile on this ruler. So obviously I can't show you a mile on a 12-inch ruler.
Okay, sure.
But I think that, again, the hallmark of science is testable predictions. So we could say, well, look, if evolution is true, then we should find, for example, humans and chimpanzees are very closely genetically similar. At least, you know, more than any other animals, humans are most similar to a chimpanzee. So we should expect then, if evolution is true and they shared a recent common ancestor, then we should expect to find transition fossils that have mosaic qualities of both the recent common ancestors that share qualities of chimps and humans. And then we find that with, like, there's lots of examples: Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Aurorine. There's lots of examples of this. And this is not just with human evolution.
Mhm.
You can do the same thing with dinosaurs and birds. You can do the same thing with mammals and like more basic like reptiles, some people say.
I know full well what they do.
So you make predictions for what transitional
I don't think he
fossils should
does.
be found.
I think he has a straw man version of what they teach, and that's what he presents, kind of thing. The question is, does he actually believe that or not? That's the $1 million question, kind of thing. I would say he understands what they teach, but he is so he's so Machiavellian in his defense of God. Like, he doesn't really care. Like, anything's on the table in defense of his God.
Yeah, for sure. Also, I want to note that this is a little bit tricky because I hear Grayson's voice and I want to pause so Grayson can talk, but then I'd be pausing past Grayson.
I've got myself on mute just to avoid any confusions. I won't pause it. Yeah, I'll just talk whenever you guys are talking.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Oh, really quick. Somebody did ask me if I went to the dock, like the memorial that was for that child that drowned. I did not walk out that far. We passed by it on the tour, but you know, I walked a little bit around the campus when I was alone, but I didn't want to risk it and and go by the water side. Too dangerous. No lifeguard on duty.
Fair. It's dangerous to go alone.
They should have what anatomical features, and then we find them. That's the gold standard.
My question was, what has any farmer in the last 4,000 or 5,000 years observed it happening today? And your answer was a fossil. That's not happening today. What do we see? I mean, animals are having babies all over the place, okay?
Mhm.
Are there any animals that we can observe today? This is changing to something else. Are these micro changes we see? They now have 450 breeds of cows that mostly man has developed from selective breeding. They're still cow. 339 recognized breeds of dogs.
This is an interesting take from Kent because, yeah, we have a bunch of different breeds of cows that humans have created through selective breeding from the ancient aurochs, which are very much not cows. There are a gazillion breeds of dogs, which are very much not wolves anymore. We have evidence of things that are no longer the thing they once were. One of my favorite examples is broccoli / spinach / Brussels sprouts, etc., that are all mustard with different attributes honed by agriculture. They're clearly no longer the same thing, but we did that by harnessing the power of evolution before we even had the concept of evolution. Kent is bringing up examples. His own examples prove him completely 1,000% wrong. I don't know what to like. It's almost a pose law kind of thing, except we know Kent is serious about this.
What annoyed me with this response was that he's just restating the question that he already asked, that I already answered. And in response to my answer, which I felt was, I talked for a while there. I mean, I gave a detailed response to this. And then in response to that, he just said, okay, let me just rephrase, let me just say the same question again.
Let me put more straw in that straw man. I've got a whole handful here. Let's stuff that straw man again and give it to you again.
Yep. We need lots of straw men to scare off the crows, probably. I don't know.
And I haven't watched this back since it happened, so I'm getting flashbacks over here.
It must be pretty trippy too.
Still dog. Has anybody ever seen, say, wow, that is turning into something else. That reptile is becoming a bird. Do we see it happening now?
So I'm going to be pretty insistent here that it's a malformed premise. So I would give the analogy, we all agree that languages change over time and that French arose from Latin. Mm-hmm. So if we look on a single generation level, every single child could understand and speak the same language as their parents. But over time, you get from Latin to French. Uh-huh. So no Latin-speaking parents ever gave birth to a French-speaking child. Okay. That never happened. Every single child resembled its parents in its language.
Good analogy.
So then, but over time, the slight differences every generation add up, and suddenly you're no longer speaking Latin, you're speaking French.
Right.
There was never a single generation where that change happened. It just happened over a long, multi-generational timescale.
And in that case, let's pick a number and say there are 10,000 words.
And that is a really great analogy. We've heard it other places before, but it's so good, and I appreciate that you got to drop it right on Kent's desk, basically.
I was really shocked to hear him say that's a good analogy. Wow, I really did not expect him to say that.
Yeah, for sure. It's that's a surprise too. Lots of surprising things are happening in Dinosaur Land.
That analogy before. That's the thing. Plenty of people have given him the language as analogy, right?
I think I've given Kent the language analogy before.
I know I have. Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't know what it was about this. And I don't know. I don't remember how he responds here, but he almost just seemed like he just backed off entirely just now.
Maybe
I think
it's 'cause you're in
he's
person. Maybe he can't. Maybe he has
he can't mute you.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't going to say that, but yeah. Okay, let's go with
Usually,
that. Yeah.
the response that I often hear to that is, "Well, languages change because of intelligent humans, so that is only showing that intelligence is required." That's what I've heard in response.
Mm. Yeah, except humans. This actually came up with a DNA is a code, therefore there must be a designer thing that happened recently. Like, humans have language because of the way our intelligence works, but our languages are not intelligently designed. They're an organic emergent property of our communication between each other. Like, a person might deliberately coin a word or two, but the majority of our language is just emergent. Nobody sat down and said, we're going to make English use the article the, and we're going to have gendered pronouns, and we're going to do this and that, you know? It just arose, you know?
Words in the average person's working vocabulary. To change from Latin to French might have taken a couple thousand years, and changing, a few words every generation. So here they have these protozoa turning into a bird and a human. Where do we see, how many changes would that take to go from a single cell protozoa to a human?
Very, very many.
And that could happen in 3 billion years?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Because again, we see these changes reflected in the fossil record.
Okay.
Like, I could go all night bringing up transitional fossils, even ones that were predicted. Like, my all-time favorite is Tiktaalik. It's like, again, we made this prediction. We say, look, all tetrapods today, that is, land creatures with 4 limbs, weird tetrapods, birds are tetrapods, salamanders are tetrapods. All the tetrapods today are most genetically similar to lobe-finned fishes, like lungfish.
Right.
And so we would make a prediction. We should be able to find a creature that has mosaic qualities of lungfish, of lobe-finned fishes, and tetrapods. And then the scientists actually predicted it should happen in this layer. They predicted the layer, right. And then they went and they looked in that layer, and they found exactly what they were looking for, Tiktaalik. It's a lobe-finned fish that has a neck and wrist bones and lungs. I mean,
are there any creatures like Tiktaalik still alive today?
No.
You're sure?
No.
Yep. I mean, find me a fish that has a neck and wrist bones.
Okay. So we went over where life came from, and all these different kinds of life forms, all the thousands of varieties of life forms, from tomatoes to whales, came from this single-celled creature, that a single-celled living organism.
Population of single cells. Yeah.
Okay. So, last couple of questions, and unless you want more to talk about this, I just wanted to get your worldview.
All of this is prelude, huh?
Worldview. None of that is worldview. Like, none of that is really worldview. I kind of dislike what he's saying there, because, I mean, this is scientific evidence. Your world is not, I mean, yeah, it kind of alludes to it, but I dislike the way that he sort of said that. This is your worldview. Yeah, it's not really what makes us evaluate our world. Evolution's just a thing. It's like saying, hey, well, gravity is your worldview. Well, no, not really. It's just the process of how we got here. It's not really my worldview. It's very, very dodgy language, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's trying to set up a dismissiveness thing. Oh, well, all of that's just your worldview, and then I have my worldview, and they're clearly equally well-founded on reality. No, you don't get to do that, Kent.
Yeah, he tried to do that because, like, he didn't actually address any of the points that I just brought up, like, maybe within the last 5-7 minutes of this. Like, he didn't address a single one of those. Like, with language, he pivoted. With Tiktaalik, he pivoted. Like, he's just sort of changing the subjects, which I thought was interesting, rather than actually engage with the points. Like, even I said the word fossil record, and it shocks me that he didn't just immediately start going on his whole script about fossil record not existing. Like, that was what was weird to me, is that normally you say these trigger words around Kent and he has to immediately go into his whole prepared slides about it. But here he's like, for some reason, he's not engaging. I don't know. Maybe I tired him out. He didn't get his afternoon nap that day. I don't know. Maybe he's just like, because he did go to bed like immediately after this. So I don't know. Maybe he's just tired. He wants to ask. I don't remember what his questions were after this, but I mean, we went through the Big Bang, the origin of life, evolution. That was kind of the whole
everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like, I don't even remember.
Did he use his slides? Did he use the slides that he had?
No, I don't think he used slides in this.
Interesting.
So maybe maybe that's what's throwing him off, because every other conversation he has, he always has his slides with him,
and he always has them on the screen as well. Like so you're talking in an answer, and he'll be flicking through slides to sort of try and get an answer to it, which is kind of rude in a debate, to be honest with you. But Kent's gonna Kent.
Yeah, and
it's his thing.
When he asked about, are there any other animals today that are similar to Tiktaalik? It's like,
no.
He literally thinks, like I saw in his, I think he's brought this up in one of my previous debates, but I also saw in his creation museum, he's got like these things where he thinks that trilobites are still alive today. Like he literally like was showing like a type of shrimp that like doesn't even look that similar to a trilobite at all. Like if you were going to try to even make the case that trilobites were still alive, maybe you could use like a triops or some sort of horseshoe crab or something. But no, it was just like a type of shrimp. And he was saying like, look, and they said trilobites are extinct. I'm like, what? So he thinks like all these current creatures are still alive. Like he thinks that Triceratops is just a huge version of a chameleon. Like he had like a little chameleon in a jar that has like 3 little horns. And he's like, look, it's just a small Triceratops. Like, never mind all that pesky skeletal anatomy differences. Don't forget about that. 3 horns. So I think that's what he was asking about. Like, if there's anything living today. I think he was trying to say that mud skippers are basically Tiktaalik.
Well, I mean, maybe Kent is doing the projection thing when he says you think you're related to a strawberry, because that actually is his level of understanding. Like, Tiktaalik is a mud skipper, as far as Kent is concerned. Who knows how his brain works?
It's really hard to tell, because it's like what's intentional and what's just ignorance. But I think that his ignorance is very intentional, and like just like facts that go against his whole view just don't stick in his head. On like, it's like a willful thing that he like just flushes his brain of any facts that anybody brings up to him in a debate. Anything that conflicts with his narrative or causes any kind of cognitive dissonance just has no place in Kent's brain.
Yeah. On the subject of why Kent seems so off balance, I wonder if your appearance is what threw him off balance, because as you said, you were unannounced, and he's trying to put on a strong front for his followers, but he's like secretly really shook, which is why he's not acting in his normal pattern. Just a possibility, though.
Yeah, he didn't even recognize me when I showed up, apparently. So he said on his stream, I think, that he didn't recognize who I was at first. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we've only had like 3 hour-long debates before. But, whatever. He gets into a lot of debates. But yeah, he didn't really seem to have any recognition or any recollection of anything that we'd talked about before. So,
well, I guess that's kind of Kent's shtick too. Like I remember that first debate review that Mark and I did was a time when he was in an open room and Standing for Truth, and you and Amy Newman and Andrew and a bunch of others all went in there and collectively whittled down every single one of Kent's arguments and made him admit that was not factually correct, until he finally got down to the very last argument and admitted defeat. But instead of letting it sit there, he just reset And he went right back to, well, none of you have demonstrated anything, even though it's right there on the same stream that he'd conceded every single point along the way. That I think whether it's by habit or by intention, Kent literally cannot learn new things because his brain just resets to its default position.
Yep, I think you hit the nail on the head with that.
It's very curious. We should study him.
Yeah, well,
for science.
I very much going to Dinosaur Adventure Land. I very much did feel like Jane Goodall amongst the chimpanzees. It was like, wow, that's like taking notes, just like fascinating how your minds work.
Wow. Would you go back there?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems like a been there, done that kind of place.
It was
Maybe
kind of
see
a
how
depressing
angry
place.
Kent. Maybe see how angry Kent is in his response video. And then,
Yeah. But it's also like it was like a kind of depressing place to be. I don't know. It was just like eerily quiet and just sort of, not trashy, but just sort of DIY, like put together. And I felt like it's not a very I did not feel very uplifted being there. So I would not go back there. They were nice to me as people, I guess, but I don't feel any need to go back or even go back to the state of Alabama or Mississippi. Sorry, y'all, if you live there.
Yeah, that's fair. Don't get me wrong. The lights over Mobile Bay on a clear night are just fantastic. Everybody should see it at least once. There's a cavern in Alabama. I forget the name of it offhand, but they have these bioluminescent glowworms that have a mating season that lasts 2 weeks in the spring. And you can take nighttime tours of the cavern, and all the glowworms are doing this blue glow. It's almost Cherenkov radiation glow. It's on my list to go see. There's wonders in those areas, but as far as roadside attractions like DAL, they're everywhere in this country, and some of them are considerably more interesting, like Wall Drug in South Dakota, which used to be a drugstore, but is now basically an entire small city inside a department store right next to the Badlands. There's cool shit everywhere.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
I take it back, Ember. You and your glowing cave worms, you sold me on Alabama again. So I take back anything I said about Alabama. Still don't know about Mississippi. It was actually traveling through like that really deeply religious American South, man, was just like it was berating you with just the religiosity of it all. And it was like depressing to see, like at the freaking Walmart, they were selling Ray Comfort books.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh no. Jason had something in chat. He says that you should go to Ark Encounter next, and that has something that's crossed my mind. I thought you should do the Ark Encounter next. What do you think?
The thing with the Ark Encounter is that I got to go to Dinosaur Adventure Land without spending any money, without giving any money to Kent. In fact, like they gave me money. Like they were like, here's some gas money. I mean, so they lost money out of the whole deal. If I went to the Ark Encounter, I would have to pay a full ticket price, and it's expensive. And I don't want to give any money to Ken Ham.
Maybe they thought they were bribing you for a good review. You ever think about
that? Yeah, I mean,
5 stars on Yelp.
They're probably pretty mad that I took their money and then
probably
that was truthful and honest using real footage, but doesn't paint them in the best light. So
yeah. But yeah, no, I but I mean, Eric has gone to Ark Encounter, and Aaron's gone to Ark Encounter, and Bill Nye's gone to Ark Encounter. So I mean, I don't really find it that bad, like I get that it's like giving money to Ken Ham is kind of awful, but at the same time, how many people are you stopping from going to Ark Encounter? Yeah, you've got to think about that.
Yeah. I guess that's some calculus to it. But I honestly, I also don't know what I'd be able to add on top of like what Erica showed in her video. I mean, she really thoroughly tore apart every wrong thing about the Ark encounter. So the only way that I'd be able to add anything is like,
well, you add
go
yourself,
out of my
Grayson.
way to like,
You add yourself. That's enough for
Yeah.
me, like, quite frankly.
oh, well, thanks, Mark. I was gonna
No
say
worries.
like if I did something really weird and outrageous at the Ark encounter, then then maybe.
I mean, you could talk to people and say, "Hey, you realize this isn't right," kind of thing. That would be hilarious. They'd probably
Yeah.
try to get you thrown out. How do you feel about getting
Paula
thrown out?
Gia says they do have pretty tight security.
Yeah, I was
Like-
gonna say like it could be like a really eye popping like clickbait title, you know, like getting arrested at the Ark encounter.
Well, you could
That
be arrested
actually might be a video worth making.
because you can't be arrested because they're not actual police. All they could do is trespass you if you refuse to leave.
Yeah.
And so if you leave, that's it. Like it.
I mean, I thought it would be funny since I did a thing of like spending the night at the Dinosaur Adventure Land. Maybe I could try to like see if I could spend the night in the Ark, like and hide out from everyone.
No, don't do stuff illegal. But like getting thrown out of Ark Encounter would be hilarious. You know,
That's true.
like that would be hilarious because, yeah.
Or you could just keep doing what you're doing, and as your channel grows, eventually Ken Ham will start to see you as a threat, and he'll invite you to come do a debate like he did with Aaron and Bill Nye and so on.
Yeah.
It takes a while, but you know, I mean, I think it's honestly the same thing that Kent was doing. Like the reason he has that open challenge, the reason he gave you money, it may have been psychological manipulation so you'd be nicer in your video, perhaps. I don't know for sure, but as came up on that other stream that y'all folks were in the other day, where the theists who run the room were being so very biased and just muting and blocking indiscriminately. You're the main attraction. You are how they make content. They have nothing without you. So, yeah, they want you to come and engage, you know? They need that to happen. So, who's to say? Yes, Robin mentions that there's a protest for the Ark every year. That's been a possibility, too. A few people have discussed going to the Ark. Nobody wants to give Ken Ham any money. But going for the protest is a distinct possibility.
That's a good point.
That sounds like fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll do a fundraiser and fly Mark over, and we can have ourselves a little screw Ken Ham con.
Yeah, Mark needs to visit America like at least once in his life.
I'm not sure I do. I'm not sure I do, to be honest. I mean, I would love to see you all. I really would. That would be amazing. But America scares me a little. Don't you know? It's just, especially
coming from the land of drop bears and everything trying to kill you. That says a lot.
I'll take the drop bears over, you know, the average IQ American with a gun. Okay, that's really where I'm at this point in time in my life. I'm sorry. And your descriptions of Walmart don't make it any better. I just, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I've been to some Walmarts like deep in the country in like Arkansas, Louisiana. Like, oh my God, the things that you see there, like, just wow. That's all I can say.
Yeah, some of it's a little. Although my favorite thing about the southeastern U.S. is at every single highway exit, on every single highway, there are always three things right in a row: gun store, porn store, church.
Liquor store.
That's usually in one of the other three. Yes, there's often those as well. It's what the hypocrisy is just on open display everywhere. And if it weren't so horrifying, it would be hilarious.
I think I saw no less than 3 enormous crosses, like over 50 feet tall, just on the side of the highway, like with mega churches and stuff, and like some of the poorest like areas I was driving through, like with like literally like third world looking poverty, and there'd just be with a giant mega church with like the biggest cross you've ever seen.
Oh, for sure. There was an organization. I forget the name of the. It was like a Pat Robertson kind of thing in the 90s, I believe, where they went to various places around the country, and it was a dedicated effort to set up those giant fucking crosses. There's one in Effingham, Illinois, that's famous because it's in Illinois. Rural Illinois is basically Missouri, but still Illinois tends to be a bit more blue overall. But they're fucking everywhere in the Southeast. I tried to make a list of them once, and there's too many. I'm like, why are people putting so much money into building giant torture devices that their god was supposedly killed on, and saying, fuck the poor people? I don't understand this religion at all. That's right, Jason. Effingham.
Well, that was a tangent and a half. Are we going back?
Sure.
These were the last few questions that Kent says that he has. So
Okay.
I don't even remember what they were. So let's do it.
Just one more thing.
That good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What's going to happen when you die?
The same thing as before I was born.
You just
I don't exist.
okay. You're sure.
That seems to be the case to me. I'm not going to say I'm 100% sure, but that's what my gut is saying. Yeah.
Okay. And I made a note to myself. You mentioned at supper that you've done many debates against flat earthers. Thank you. I'm sorry they're out there and they claim to be Christian and they're embarrassing.
Yep. I would say it's a labor of love.
No,
but,
they are Christian. They just are Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's true that they're embarrassing, though.
Well, yes. But
It's a no
they
true
are
Scotsman
Christian.
fallacy with these guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, it's even better than that. I'm gonna what the hell is this douchebag's name? I can't remember his name. It doesn't matter. He's gonna say what's up.
The irony here is abundantly obvious, and the fact that these people don't notice it is just astonishing.
Colin, that's right, Colin. Kent calling another brand of crazy Christians embarrassing is just wow.
Because I think yerpers and flurpers are on the same level. See what I did there? So young Earth creationists and flat earthers generally have the same kind of arguments, the same level of evidence for their claims, the same, like they're almost identical as far as sort of their level of argumentation and evidence is concerned.
Like
their argument is almost the same.
I literally just did a video where I went into a flat Earth Discord server and debated evolution, and guess what I was hearing? Dogs always produce dogs. Yeah. I was literally hearing Kent Hovind's arguments at the flat Earth server. I mean, it's like it is all the same thing. I would say, Mark, I don't necessarily have them on the exact same level. The way that I consider it is like young Earth creationism is like the gateway drug for flat Earth, because it's like, you know, it's both a little bit older than the popularity of flat Earth, but it, like, once you are primed to distrust science and scientific institutions, experts on something like evolution, then all of a sudden it's a lot easier to distrust NASA and physicists and Einstein and like all these other institutions of science. You basically have to just distrust all scientific entities if you're going to be a flat earther. And young Earth creationism primes you to do that.
Yeah, as we often say, when you disable your critical thinking and allow one conspiracy theory into your mind, you're now vulnerable to more of them. It's very rough. Steph, I'm sorry about Colin. Was he too loud? I'm not understanding.
I didn't hear that. I'm sorry. Who was complaining? It was too loud.
Stephanie said,
okay.
yeah, and it may not even have been Colin. It may have been something else I did that was noisy. I'm not sure.
Well, maybe, yeah, I don't know. Decibels, dB?
Oh, yeah, that could be. That could be. Yeah, I'm trying to catch up on the comments. Damn it, Beamsy. There's probably nothing wrong with that particular comment. I just, Beamsy always needs a damn it.
Beamsy. Who started that? Was that me? I'm so sorry if I did. It probably was. Like, just blame me for that. Seriously.
Damn it, Mark.
Damn it, Mark.
Damn it, Mark. Oh, DB was douchebag. Okay, yes. Just Colin being Colin is offensive to,
That's fair.
everyone. It's
Also,
true.
was this his very first question actually about my worldview? Like, he went through all of this whole thing saying he's asking about my worldview when really he's just asking like basic science questions.
Yeah.
And now finally he says, so what happens when you die? Like, what? That was whiplash, man.
Yeah.
It's a bold chess move.
I legit
I'm gonna throw a checker on the board.
Had he actually asked anything before that about, because I would say that is actually a question about somebody's worldview at that point.
Yeah.
It's a headache.
Kansas is flat. I've driven across that, but the rest of the world's round.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, any final words you'd like to give? This has been good. I want to understand what you believe and why. And I think you've admitted half a dozen times, or maybe a dozen times tonight, that there are certain things about this so-called process that we simply don't know yet. And therefore, open for interpretation. There may be more data found someday. But at least at this point, my reaction is these family trees do not represent science. They represent imagination. They draw lines on paper between these things and say, boy, look at this, boys and girls. The protozoa turned into a sponge and a butterfly and a...
Kent is literally confusing the map for the place.
Reification fallacy, yes.
And I'm sure that the stuff that I had said that we don't know about was like dark energy and abiogenesis. Like, was there other stuff that I answered about that we just don't know yet, or we don't know about it? Because like I said we don't know like a dozen times, and from that he's saying that we shouldn't teach evolution in school. But all the things that I answered about we don't know were not about evolution. It was like, because we don't understand dark energy, now we can't teach evolution in schools.
Yeah. It's a head scratcher because like we don't teach advanced astrophysics in elementary schools or even really high schools,
And we talked about that in the first part, how he sort of said, oh, dark matter, and you want to teach that in schools, and it's like nobody is teaching like high school students dark matter and dark energy and stuff. Like, nobody is doing that. And to go back to that thing he said, like, oh, you're teaching that God doesn't exist. No, nobody is teaching kids that. Nobody is. It's irrelevant to the curriculum of that class. But evolution is in the curriculum, and I want to tie it into that flat earth thing. Flat earthers may say, hey, I'm not paying for you to teach my kid that the earth is a globe. That's not how we do things. Like, just because you're incredulous of this scientific principle doesn't mean that we don't teach it. Like, you can say to your child, hey, this is what they think. It's not true. You have the right to do that. But we're going to teach it because it's part of the scientific curriculum. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, there's people, some of our greatest discoveries came from people who were like, I'm going to go out and disprove this thing, or I'm going to go prove God, and then they discover something else, whatever. They still have to understand where things are now in order to build on that in some way. Much like we spend a bunch of time finding out what the hell it is that theists like Kent believe, so that we can address it. And instead of just going, nah, 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 I don't, you know? Damn it, Beamsy. Technically correct, which is, of course.
You are technically correct. The best kind of correct.
Indeed.
Fighter. I resent that being in a science textbook. That's somebody's imagination.
Yeah, so I think that even you agreed that the gold standard of science is verified predictions that are testable, repeatable, falsifiable. So I do think evolution not only has one or two of these, but countless numbers of verified predictions, and that's what qualifies it as science. So again, we didn't even get into some of the genetics, like there's a different number of chromosomes between humans and all the other apes. So there was a prediction that at one point that 2 ape chromosomes would have had to fuse together, and that would be
Chromosome 2.
Yeah, so that was predicted. And then when we actually did the analysis, we saw that, hey, there are 2 chimp chromosomes that have the same genes in the same order as our chromosome 2 if you just line them up end to end. Okay. And we saw evidence that this chromosome 2 fusion really did happen in our genomes. We can see it written in all of our genomes.
Proof for apes.
Well, the proof that we're apes is that we meet all of the morphological criteria that qualifies something as an ape rather than a monkey. So we meet all that list. I mean, it's just a classification at that point. But the point is that evolution makes these testable, verified predictions, and that's what qualifies it as science.
Okay.
I'm going to take this opportunity to say something to you, Grayson, that I seldom get the chance to do. How do you know so much stuff? How do you keep that all in your head and active at any given moment?
I just read and I retain information that I think is interesting, I guess. So because I find a lot of this science like super interesting, it sticks up there. Like I can read stuff that I don't find interesting and I don't remember it at all. But for this stuff, I mean, I'm always reading about some kind of science. It's just just one of my passions. I just like learning and trivia. So
you have an interesting definition of trivia. I feel that. I relate to that. My brain works in a very similar way. But I mean, like, the depth of your knowledge on so many topics, it not to, make you blush or anything, but it's staggering. It's really, really impressive. Like, we've talked about quantum theory before, and my knowledge on it isn't bad, but yours goes way the fuck past mine. And the same thing with species and fossils, and it's so many topics. It's just, I could see a person having a passionate interest in 1, 2, 3, 6 things, and having a general interest in other stuff. I'm sure there are topics that you don't know as well, which is why you don't deal with those. But you have a lot of topics that you're very good at.
Yes, yeah, well, thanks,
absolutely.
Ember. I appreciate that so much. I really do. I will say maybe I have a leg up on you on quantum mechanics because I've audited quantum mechanics 1 and 2, like on a college level. So I've taken those classes. So maybe that's why I might have a slight leg up on you on that. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just follow my interests and I like learning. I don't know what other secret I could possibly have beyond that, but I really, really do appreciate your words on that, because like this is some of the stuff that I'm passionate about. So, and I'm always learning new things too. So
yeah,
hell yeah.
Fantastic.
Hell yeah, never stop learning.
I gotta do an interview with you one day. Like, I've got all these people that I absolutely adore, and I never have them on. I gotta tee that up at some point.
Yeah, I'm down for sure.
Yeah, all right, that sounds good.
Like, I just learned a new, maybe you guys already knew of this before, but like literally just yesterday, I learned a new kind of ancient creature that I was like, wow, how did I never know about Shringosaurus before? Have you guys heard of Shringosaurus?
Nope.
I was like, this thing is so unique looking, and like I'm all in on all these crazy, wacky, like ancient creatures. Here, let me see if I can screen share. Oh, maybe that'll mess up everything. Am I able to screen share or?
Yeah, it'll just switch what's up on the screen. That's all.
Okay, yeah. Sorry if this is a bit of a tangent, but like I'm just on.
It's what we do.
I'm learning
Yeah.
new stuff too
What we're
all the
here for.
time. And so, like, this is just a new creature that I learned yesterday, Shringosaurus. Look at this thing. Look at those horns. This kind of a creature. I mean, this is from the Triassic period. It's an herbivore. And I'm like, I saw this in like a little, just come up online yesterday. And I was like, wow, I've never heard of this. And I went on a whole, down the rabbit hole reading about Shringosaurus. And so, yeah, I'm always learning new things too. And yeah. I really can't. I don't have a secret beyond that. So, but I wanted to share Shringosaurus with you guys.
Yeah, it is a very unique critter. It looks like it's a big one too.
Yeah, I think between I don't remember, like 7 feet long or something like that. I mean, it was like it's pretty decent sized, especially for the Triassic.
Hell yeah, and that's another thing that you do well too. In fact, I've been noticing. Of course, we've engaged in seen each other and Amy Newman's and I've watched you invade Kent and so forth for quite some time now. And your ability to communicate both clearly and in simple enough terms that even Kent Hovind can understand, it was never bad, but it's been getting better progressively. And we see that a lot in this debate.
I don't know if anyone can communicate in words simple enough for Kent Hovind to understand, but I appreciate the sentiment. And it is something that I like really do try to work on. Sometimes I do kind of slip into too much technical jargon and I feel like I maybe lose the crowd sometimes, but I try to work on it and I try to convey things briefly, simply, with passion so that people can, pay attention and get their hooks in the material.
Hell yeah. Yeah, and it's all good stuff. And when you learn something new, you're like excited to share it with other people, and I appreciate that too.
Well, learning's my favorite hobby, so.
The Bible 24 times in the first 7 chapters says, the plants and animals will bring forth after their kind. I predict cows will always make baby cows and dogs will always make baby dogs. You might get a big one or a little one, but I predict, based on that book right there, that animals and plants always produce after their kind.
He's predicting based on this book? I realize he has a different edition, but...
And also, he's basing that on a measure of time that is so small in the sense like what we're talking about. Like we're talking about millions of years, and he's seeing few thousand and saying, "Hey, that's representative of all time," and it's not. And that's the last time I talked to him. I had that question for him. It's like, and Beansy actually, damn it, Beansy, for such a good analogy. We've never seen Pluto go round the sun, but we know that it happens, right? This is the thing. Like, just because we've never seen this thing actually occur in our lifetimes doesn't mean that we can't inductively show that it will happen in the future. That's what science is actually for.
Yeah, figuring things out, or at least coming up with better answers than we had before. Is my microphone really, really loud?
I don't think it's fine.
You're
maybe
definitely
I'm
louder than Mark.
Well, maybe I should turn myself up. Prepare thyselves.
Oh, maybe it's a StreamYard thing. I've had this happen before. Because when I'm on portable mode and I have to use my phone, I have to manually change my volume to be much, much lower because of all the background noise and whatnot. And sometimes I forget to do that, but whatever. But then when I'm on the computer later, the audio is still manually adjusted somewhere weird, and sometimes it makes things screwy. So now I'm I'm trying to get into my settings as I talk, and I keep distracting myself. Yeah, I am set to a manual volume. Okay, I just changed it to automatically adjust. Hopefully that'll even things out a bit more, but let me know if there's problems. Oh, yeah. Okay, All right. Yes, now I'm the one on distracted and tangents and things. So let's go back to whatever the hell Kent is trying to say.
Now, what is a kind? I think a 4-year-old can tell you that a cow is a different kind than a pine tree. Okay, so we can argue about what is a kind all day long. Anyway, so I think I make the same predictions. I think we could have predicted a red shift based upon stretching of the heavens. I think we.
No, you could not. You lying.
Then why didn't they? Why didn't the very intelligent creationist or theologians make this prediction? Why did scientists make it and not theologians? Because they couldn't, not off the information that was in the Bible. It doesn't have anything about the expected radiation produced out of a singularity in the Bible. This is where he's sort of conflating. He's kind of saying, hey, there's something in the Bible that's kind of like what science says now. They could have predicted that. No, they couldn't. They didn't have the necessary knowledge. That's the whole point.
Mm-hmm. There's nothing about frequency, wavelength, Doppler shift, as Beamsy correctly pointed out, the blue shift of Andromeda, the fact there are even other galaxies. That would have been something pretty incredible if it were expressly put in the Bible, and then we found other galaxies because we expected to from the Bible. That would have been pretty cool, but no, didn't happen. L Trucker uses member chat to say, and thank you for being a member for 4 months. Appreciate that, and also enjoy the emojis. But L says, was at the barn earlier visiting with a donkey and thinking you're still much less of an ass than Kent, yet more coherent, well-mannered, and smart. That sounds like a nice donkey.
I don't think the donkey is responsible for any, tragedies at their park. So yeah, the donkey's definitely got that one over Kent. Well, that's a low shot. I'm sorry. I'm just feeling very anti-Kent right now.
It's fair. And Pinworm, member for 4 months. This is a weird thing. Like, I'm looking at it in the YouTube chat, and there's just I appreciate the member chat, but apparently sometimes it sends those through without any text attached. I don't know why, but I appreciate you. It's always good to see you, Pinworm. Yeah, YouTube's doing some weird things. Sinister Porpoise was just asking why super chats aren't working for them, and I don't know. YouTube is weird. Skeptic Haven was having problems earlier. Like their automated bot periodically says, Skeptic Haven is monetized, send in a super chat, and et cetera, et cetera. And that feature wasn't available today. So yeah, they come and go. It's, who knows. Jason Jacoby sends a member chat saying page intentionally left blank. Which, of course, is, when I see one of those, it amuses me endlessly, because in order to put page intentionally left blank, the page is now no longer blank. So, I always found that funny. I find a lot of weird things funny.
You could have predicted complexity of life is too great. God had to do it. So I hold that this is just as scientific as the evolution theory.
Well, yeah, it would have to be a whole other debate on like biblical prophecy, but I just want to point out that nobody did make those predictions. Like, it wasn't before we observed redshift.
That's why.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe you would have, but those are right now. Those are post-dictions. Okay. So those are not predictions. Like, if the Bible could predict something scientific that we could observe, test, and measure, and then that was found to be the case. Then I think that would count as evidence for the Bible.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like we were just saying, if somebody could make a prediction out of those, and then they actually did, and then we found it, that would be fantastic. But it just, if anybody's done it, nobody's shown it to us. Like, show us your work. And now we suddenly have a whole bunch of things. Mark Reed, member for 7 months. Appreciate you, Mark. You should come on the channel sometime and chat.
Oh yeah, no, I look, yeah, I'll
Yeah.
start contributing more to the channel. I've been like,
One topic at a time, Ken. Yes, that's fair. Left-handed Jedi sends $2 and says, "Testing, testing. Is this thing on?"
No.
Hooray! It worked. Appreciate you, Jedi. And Beamsy gifted 10 Ember ships. And I gotta scroll down. Come
can
on,
do
come
it.
on, chat. Come on, come
want
on.
me to read them out?
I'm almost there. I'm almost there.
Okay.
Okay. Lucky winners were Jason T, Titan Uranus, Your Victoria, Rochelle, Unapologetically Chrissy, Tenebrasint, Ryan Donovan, and John. John Rapp, if I remember correctly. It's been a while since the name change. And Hillhugger. So congratulations, folks. Enjoy custom emojis. I'm just randomly clicking things because there's so many. And, I appreciate that because they're fun. Yeah, very cool. Thank you, Beamsy. And Beamsy says, "As I make you laugh a lot, I do not know how to feel about that."
Feel good about that.
Yeah.
You're. Well, I suppose it depends. Like if somebody says something serious and they get laughed at, that could be a little off-putting. But I get the impression that usually Beamsy's going for a joke.
Making Ember laugh should make anyone feel good.
There you go. Actually, making anybody laugh. Oh, actually, that's not true. Some people laugh at some very awful things. So I'm going to rescind that statement before I make it.
And Pinworm sends $5. I do appreciate you, Pinworm. You show support a lot. You show you actually hit the super thanks button. In the last couple of months, you've hit it a couple of times. Robin has at least once. Honestly, I've been terrible at keeping track because it doesn't happen very often. I tried to put blips in the beginnings of videos to thank super thankers, but there were a couple of months where there just weren't any, so I got out of the habit. I apologize for that, but I do appreciate the support, and you're always there, participating and trying to support the channel, and I really appreciate that. Pinworm says, "Since I cheaped out on the level of membership, I don't think it allows any text on the anniversary chat things." You may be right. There is a match level membership. All my membership levels are fire themed, of course. Match is just there for people who only want the emojis, who just want to play with the emojis. I can appreciate that. If that's all you want, that's there for you, and that's only 99 cents a month. If you want more, though, there are other benefits. I don't know them all off the top of my head, but there's early and ad-free access to videos. Members get to see videos a week early. When I set up the premiere for Saturday morning, I also switched the video so that the member video is the next video up in the queue. Similar to how on Patreon they get early access to videos. I try to keep them analogous because Patreon's better for the channel. We get more of that. YouTube takes 30%, Patreon takes 10%. But pluses and minuses. I try to keep the benefits relatively similar. There's also member votes on the new emojis. There's behind the scenes photos. There's assorted stuff in there. I should probably memorize them. I've been doing this for over a year, but I'd rather make more videos. But I do appreciate that. But you're probably right. It's probably the membership level just doesn't do that for some reason. Let's see. In regards to you find weird things, I do find weird things funny. Very often. Absolutely. And Earl joined. Thank you. I hope you enjoy randomly clicking some more emojis. Enjoy all the fun custom emojis. It's always good to have more members. I got jealous, wanted the emojis too. That's fair. They are some pretty cool emojis. Yes, and Robin Webster's also on Patreon. Robin supports everybody in every way she possibly can, and she's one of the saints of our atheist community here. Okay, I think I'm caught up on notifications for now.
And Robin of Milk.
Yes.
Now, Donnie has some questions, I believe. Donnie, you there still?
Yes, gentlemen, great discussion. I enjoyed the Q&A format and style. So good job.
I'd like all the atheists to come visit here. I think they should. It's a safe place. Nobody gets it's not a cult. It's a
I like how he
It's not
stopped
a cult.
himself. Nobody gets it's not a cult. Because he can't say nobody dies. Oh, it's horrible, but he keeps doing it.
He can't say nobody thinks it's a cult because, like, everybody thinks it's a cult.
He literally instructed me as I was leaving, like as I'm driving out the gate. He came up to my car and said, you know, there's these two ladies that work at the gas station down the road, and they think that Dinosaur Adventure Land is a cult. So, and then he gave me a 6-page typed manifesto, like that was an FAQ about all the reasons why DAL is not a cult.
Which is totally not culty in and of itself.
Yeah,
Right.
And then he said, you know, that the gas station is just down there if you need to get gas. And why don't you just tell those ladies about how much fun you had at DAL and how it's not a cult. So, yeah.
To
I
show
did
that
not
this
go
is
to the
not a
gas station.
cult, endorse my thing and say to random strangers it's not a cult. Like, it's such a weird request from a non-cult. Like, it's just like I've got lined up a interview with Mark Stoney. I want to talk to him because he used to live and work there for years. So I want to talk to him about the stuff that goes on there.
Yeah, that should be really.
I have that manifesto. I've got it somewhere around here. It's pretty funny.
I can imagine. Does it start with "My name is Kent Hovind"?
Okay, I'm gonna go.
Hello, my name is Kent Hovind.
I know it's here somewhere. I'm gonna be right back.
Okay, well, he's doing that. Robin Webster sends $2 to say just have to brag on Mark Reed's new channel intro. So of course, I went and punched that up because it is epic. For anybody who hasn't seen it yet, Bree played it earlier today. I'll play it again because it's fucking cool. So yeah, check this out, folks.
Have you ever found yourself
So yeah, if you're not subscribed to Mark, the link is in the description. Go fix it.
I worked really hard on that. I did. I worked really hard on that. Like I
We can
haven't had a
tell
channel
the
intro.
production value is great.
I haven't had a channel intro for a year, kind of thing. So people have said, "Hey, you're a bit quiet," and all of these things, and I really appreciate the feedback and stuff. This is my first attempt at a channel intro, and I worked really hard on it. And you know, I get that it's probably not going to be perfect my first time out. I accept that, but you know, I think I did a good job for a good effort, and you know, the next one will be better. But I've been on doing this for a year, and I still don't have a channel intro. It was appalling, and eventually I just went, no, I got to do something. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it, everybody. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I want to give a big shout out to my wife, who actually I gave her ideas and what I wanted to say, and she said, in her words, she punched it up. Okay, so boy, did she punch. I said, that's a haymaker, darling. Like, what are you doing over there? Like, she absolutely did a fantastic job. So, you know, this is the whole point. We're not alone. We have each other to help. And, you know, I have my wife to help. I have these amazing people like Grayson and Ember and all of the people that I you know, have been surprise friends throughout my weird YouTube journey here, which is incredible. And I love you all. It's amazing. But thank you. Yeah, her surname's not Reed. She kind of kept her own surname, which is fine because she's a writer, so that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like an actor with a stage name. They tend to keep, well, not even like a stage name. Like when they get famous under their name, even if they get married, they keep their name because that's how they're known.
She's not famous. She is a writer. She has a writing degree. She has written books. None of them have really taken off, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is that she writes books and enjoys it. That's the important thing.
Yeah, and not like you need justification to keep your name either. It's a personal decision. It's valid to do either way. You don't have to have a reason to do that. Just, you know, to correct past Ember, recent past Ember. We also have a $10 alleged super chat from Yahooligan. I'm starting Maple Leaf Adventure Land. I'll give Grayson gas money, and if 45 wins, just stay for 4 years. Mark, the only thing to fear in Canada is 7% beer. And Ember, we need someone with style. If I find someone like that, I will be sure to let you know.
Yeah, you know, I'll go to Yahooligan's compound in Canada for 4 years if you know, the worst of the worst happens in 2024.
You know, that was the original idea when Eric from Skeptics and Scoundrels started rebuilding his property into a compound. It was supposed to be like a refuge we could all retreat to in case the theocrats took over.
Nice. I want to say I don't know if we're going to go through the question period of this, but I did find Kent's manifesto.
Oh, I think that's better than the questions. The questions were kind of they're just Kent talking points all over again. Like it really is. And you know, I the person that I feel most for is the young girl that keeps getting dragged onto this channel. And apparently it's her in her account asking some of the most basic things. And I strongly suspect it's actually her parents, to be honest.
Taylor? Yeah.
Well, I wasn't even going to say her name because
sorry.
That's no, that's okay. No, totally. But you know, it's just like, I don't know. Perhaps she's very astute. She doesn't talk like a young girl. I think that maybe it's her parents. She's too young to have her own YouTube channel.
Oh, she has her own. Oh, I mean, she does have a YouTube channel where she makes videos.
She's too young. Like, so the thing is, you're not allowed to, under 13, you're not allowed to have a YouTube channel. But her parents obviously made it for her. It's in their name, and they run it for her.
They took her to Dinosaur Adventure Land too. So
yeah, I feel like it's kind of, and many people have said this before, it's kind of, you know, are they taking advantage of it? I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I should protect this person from some of the things that have gone on in DAL.
I don't
or just being exploited.
Yeah.
Or being exploited, you know, to make money. But
She's
I don't know.
pretty smart for her age. I mean, like she'll be in the live chat sometimes, and it seems
Is
like
it her?
it seems like it. I don't know, but like she seems intelligent. So I have no doubt that eventually she will grow out of all of this and look back and be like, "Oh man, I
That's the
can't
problem.
believe."
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the problem is that on her channel, like most of her videos are things like dancing and gymnastics and just all the normal things that young girls enjoy and get excited about, kind of thing, movies and things like that. Just normal stuff. And then the videos on her like talking about this kind of stuff are kind of different. They seem like she's not. She's going through something somebody has given her, and I think that's what her parents have given her to read out, which is kind of a really terrible. I can't say for sure that's what's happening, but that's a really, if her parents are doing that, that's a really terrible thing to do to your child, is give them a script to read out. So, they have these questions. It's terrible. Anyway, tangenting again. Sorry.
As we do. Okay, we've got a $10 super sticker from Native Atheist. Thank you so much. It was an LOL person. Yeah. It's good times. Jason says, nice intro. Titan says, that's fantastic. Robin says, it made me cry. You can put all these reviews on your little, cinema laurel leaf thing,
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. I thought there's probably more. I'm scrolling quickly to try to catch up. Style starts with better hats. I know, so I was telling Mark before the broadcast began, I actually do have earbuds now, so that I can have, different hats, but the cord's not long enough. I can't quite, so I'm working on it. Yes, I've got an extender coming on Monday, but for the time being, I'm stuck with the hats that I can wear my headphones with. I honestly, I don't have as many hats as I'd like. I've got that big straw hat that I cannot wear with headphones. I've got that Renaissance Fair hat. I have a Santa hat. I may have a couple of more, but yeah, I do need more hats. Absolutely. But we're working on it, one thing at a time. It takes a while to, honestly, I'll save that story for tomorrow. There's plenty of tangents for today.
Rome was not built in a day. You don't find the perfect hat overnight.
Yeah.
That's true, actually.
Quite so. Okay. Now let's do this manifesto thing, shall we?
Okay.
Let's make Grayson big. How do I do that? Nope, that's making me big. I know there's a way. There we go. Haha.
So I don't really know how exactly we want to do this, but I'll read there's like 2 paragraphs of an introduction here where he talks about the ladies at the gas station. And then there's all these questions. It reads like an FAQ. So maybe I could just read some of the questions. And if you guys want to hear what Kent's response is, then I can read those. But here it is.
Can we guess the response? Can we try and guess the response?
That'd be fun. So,
okay. I like this.
Last night, one of our new volunteers here at Dinosaur Adventure Land, named, I'm not going to say his name, but it's written here, told me that the ladies who worked at the Marathon gas station and then he wrote the actual address, told him that we are a cult and had various other complaints and concerns about us. So I took Adam with me right away to go talk to them. The elderly, silvery-haired lady behind the counter and a younger, dark-haired lady who goes to the Lennox Baptist both talked with us for maybe 15 minutes. Here are the concerns, rumors, accusations, etc. they said were going around the community.
Grayson, sorry to interrupt you, but you've got to do a Hovind accent, according to Jason.
Oh my God!
What's
No,
the
I
next
cannot.
piece of Hovind accent? All right.
You see how many words there are here?
I did a 2.5 hour stream,
and I don't know how you did that, Mark.
Okay,
I really
fair
don't.
enough.
Okay, number one. Okay, this is what really threw me when I first was looking through this, because this is supposed to be a list of all the concerns, rumors, and accusations about them being a cult, right? Number 1, they said we had drones flying over the property that looked suspicious. That's the first concern. I don't really know why that would implicate a cult, but okay. Number 2 was, since Dinosaur Adventure Land moved here to Lennox, there have been lots more drugs. So there's been more drugs in the community because of Dinosaur Adventure Land. And this is just hilarious. The answer, I'm just going to read a little bit of this, but answer. Drugs are increasing all over America. That was, he's like, it's not us, it's America, guys. Yeah. And he's saying, we have had thousands of visitors like Disney and every other place in the world that people visit for a day or two. If you want to, so he's just saying, here it is. I will be 71 on January 15th and have never taken drugs or alcohol. So Kent
Nobody's
says
saying it's him. Nobody says
has
it's
never
him.
done drugs or alcohol, apparently. Kent's never had alcohol.
The lady
I'm
doth
skeptical.
protest too much, methinks.
Yeah. This one says, number 3. One of the ladies said they had people from Dal walk up to their store and buy drugs and alcohol. So, people from Dal are going to the gas station to try to procure drugs and alcohol. So,
This is the classic "no you" defense from Hovind. You know, like, no, you have a religion. No, you're the one with drugs. It's kind of really terrible.
well, yeah, he's just saying, I gave her my cell phone number and told her to call me if that ever happens, and I will deal with it instantly. So he's
Okay.
coming out with a strong
Not a
stance.
cult.
Not a cult at all. He will deal with his followers instantly as he sees fit. This is the answer. For this next question is an
Just on
entire
that
page long.
claim,
Huh?
on that claim, drug use sort of is only going up. Like, I mean, I think about 5% over the last 12 years or something. It's not going up as fast as he's suggesting. Like, if they're sort of saying, hey, Dal got there and then we saw this massive influx, that is not the same as, oh, well, drug use is going up all over the country kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
True. So this next question. Oh my God, guys. This next question. This has nothing to do with being a cult. I do not know why it's here. But his response is an entire page and more than a half. It's almost 2 pages of response here.
Wow.
One of the ladies said she was told that I beat my wife.
He didn't have to
And
be
he's
told.
got an
He was
entire-
convicted of it.
Yeah, he's got an entire page, almost 2 pages, single spaced, of a response to that allegation that has nothing to do with whether or not he's a cult or not. And it's literally like, it starts, I have never hit a woman in my life. And then he goes into his entire story about all of his marriages from the 70s onward. His entire relationship history is regaled to us in this tale. I never read the whole thing. It's just a lot to read. I don't know if we want to read any part of that. But he claims he's never hit a woman in his life, even though I believe that he was convicted of that, right?
He was convicted, yes. He's appealing it, but he was convicted of that by bench trial. So not a jury, just a judge decides.
He got benched, huh?
Oh,
Well, I
here
think-
he has it here that he says, on July 30th, 2021, I was, in quotation marks, arrested for, in quotation marks, domestic violence. So, and yeah, the bizarre case is still in the courts in county in Alabama. The trial keeps getting put off for more important matters in this small county, apparently.
Well, that is true. It does keep getting put off. I don't know whether I don't think that's got anything to do with Hovind. It's just it does keep getting put off.
Yeah, and he's basically, this whole thing is just gaslighting his ex-wife, calling her crazy, and that she's so, like, he's like saying, "Oh, she has fits of rage and just is crazy and swept away in her crazy woman emotions, and I was just here to calm her down, and they said that I body slammed her to the ground." Yeah, it's pretty.
Didn't he demonstrate how he body slammed her on a live stream?
Yeah, he did.
No, he had a video. He did one of those, like a really awful version of a reenactment with this huge guy wearing a wig. It was really like it's still to this day one of the cringiest things I have ever seen in my life. Like this guy saying, "Oh, my wife was here," and there's this like heavy-set, hairy guy just in a blonde wig, kind of thing, still wearing a cut-off it's not a beater, it's a tank top kind of thing. It's like that is. It's so bad, and he's got audio from it, kind of thing. But yeah.
And he talks about meeting his current wife too here at the end, and how he was praying, "Lord, it is not good for the man to be alone, as you said. I'm not going fishing for a wife, but if you want me to have one, please have her jump in the boat." That's a quote from, I guess, Kent to God. He put it in quotation marks. So, and then he said, several months later, his new wife called me from Landmark Baptist Church in Florida after one of my shows. We talked, and I later called her pastor. I had preached at that church before. He told me that she had been in his church since she was 5, and that I would never find a better woman in the world. Boy, was he right. Oh, okay. I want to move on to the next question because this is supposed to be uncomfortable. But the next one is, one of the ladies at the store last night said I was not qualified to pastor since I had been married before. So again, nothing to do with Dow being a cult. I don't think a single one of these questions has had anything to do with Dow being a cult. Like, apparently, yeah. Wait. This is interesting. He quotes a couple Bible verses and then says, "I have never divorced anyone or left anyone in my life. They left me for no biblical reason, and after great wrestling and prayer and seeking godly counsel."
Way to tell on yourself, Kent.
But like, none of this, like, you could have left 50,000 people. It doesn't mean you're not a cult.
Okay. Here he says, one of the ladies said something about, in quotes, "It's hard to believe that we have built all we have built at Dow just based on donations." In parentheses, I think she was hinting there might have been some illegal activity to bring in money, but I don't know that for sure.
Does people working without paying them count as illegal activity?
I think, out of technicality, yeah. I mean, yeah,
not
like
really.
some of the people,
volunteering, but
yeah, I talked to some of the people that had, like, first of all, almost everybody that I talked to had been there for less than a year, so it's like a lot of rotation of people. And then one of the persons I talked to was saying that they decided to come out there and work for Kent because they made a pact with God that they were going to give 1 year of their life to the Lord. So then they decided to go to Dinosaur Adventure Land to work for Kent. So not beating the cult allegation.
Whoa. Yeah, for real. On a slightly unrelated topic, Stephanie has a rather pressing question. And I guess this is everybody on the topic of how the theists need us to show up and engage with them, or they don't have a show. So Stephanie asks, why be stage dressing for him? Kent in this case, but the other theists more generally. Even to them, even the best of us are only that, just stage dressing. So why do it? Why give them what they need to make their shows that they use to lie to thousands of people potentially.
Well, I mean, I think it's important that somebody calls them on their BS, like, because they're going to be making shows to their followers, like, regardless. And, you know, I would rather be there to call them out whenever they say something wrong or hateful or whatever. Just be a sane voice in the room, I feel, isn't something that's important.
I have a similar idea myself. I've actually spoken with Stephanie about this in the past, and the situation, that particular situation, did not work out as I expected. It was a person who shall not be named, but has caused a great deal of trouble in our community over the years. And I had this idea that it's better to go out and take these people face on, and even though you're probably never going to change their mind and you're probably not going to influence their devout followers, other people who see it will see the other side of the coin, and they won't automatically be swayed by the nonsense because they'll see, oh, this person is, their reviews are completely unreasonable. Why would anyone believe that? But the flip side to that coin is it elevates people like that. Another example is that this fellow Daniel who crawled out of the gutters of Twitter, and he engaged with Joe the Kentucky Atheist several times, and then he started saying increasingly horrible things. And, you know, Joe didn't know he was going to do that, but this guy would have never had any voice at all if Joe didn't elevate him from Twitter troll to a person who's, you know, speaking with reputable people and such. If we never give these assholes the time of day, then they never have followers that need rescuing.
Well, I don't think
I suppose.
Can't. Like, I run into people all the time that use his arguments and think his arguments are amazing. So countering those arguments and letting people know why they are bad arguments, why they are a lack of critical thinking, I think is really important. And you may disagree, that's fine, but I think it's really important. You know, this is why I sort of say to people, hey, debate Kent, like, his arguments are so old and tired, and I'll even help people prepare for Kent because, you know, the arguments, you run into them all the time, like constantly.
Yeah, I think that there can definitely be good and bad ways to do it. Like, I think Kent would still have his following regardless of whether or not we engaged him in debates. I mean, he got famous for his, like, DVDs back in the 90s of just like,
It's still a running joke.
Yeah, those were just him giving lectures at churches. Like, there were no atheists involved there, and that's what made him famous. But you also oftentimes will hear when creationists talk about Kent or how they first found out about him or their favorite moment or whatever, invariably they bring up that time where he debated with 3 college professors. And they say, oh, like, he looked so good in that debate. They got stomped because these college professors were not familiar with Kent Hovind and his arguments or whatever. This is the first time that they were hearing all of this. And I feel like that was irresponsible of them, especially since them being actual professionals and experts, and then, you know, not doing the best in that debate when it was 3 versus 1, that I feel like was very negative. So oftentimes, I mean, I do think it depends on how you do in the debate. Like, if you end up, you know, clearly showing to any rational passerby that, like, this person's ideas are creditless, easily debunked, not rational, and they look stupid just for making these arguments, I feel like that's a net positive that you've been a sane voice of reason. But if you've done poorly in the debate and you've somehow are in a position where you've made them look like they have, you know, more credits than when the debate started, that I feel like can be very problematic and bad to do, and is a negative type of platforming. So
Yeah, very much agree that when done, it has to be done responsibly, because there's a very, very high risk of doing damage to one's own cause if one's not prepared and careful about how it's done and so forth. There are pluses and minuses to direct engagement. I personally have scaled back a bit to mostly doing debunking videos of assholes like Kent. We'll see how the future goes as far as my own personal thing goes. But yeah, it's definitely not something that people should just rush into because they want to beat up the theists. Like, you have to be prepared. On a happier note, Kata has become an Ember member. I appreciate that. Always good to see a Kata, and to enjoy. I'm clicking more random custom emojis. There's so many. I really enjoy how many there are.
I've got to make more. I have got to make a tinfoil hat one. I've got to make a few that I've got to make. So be prepared for that.
Yeah, and
reading a little bit more of this manifesto. I haven't read the whole thing, and I was just cracking up.
Oh, I bet. But Stephanie did have a reply. What you're doing now is useful. Grayson's interaction was positive. But the critical element now is more the former than the latter, to the extent that the latter may lead to that. It makes sense. So yeah. So I think... I think, not to put words in Stephanie's mouth, but my interpretation is that you have a good position, and it is important that you put the caution on there, because it's, having a person who has no idea how to debate just want to go take on Kent could make Kent look really good, and that's not helping anybody. Pinworm asks, how long could someone stay at DAL before they get put to work?
2 days.
It's interesting you know that answer.
No, he said it multiple times. If you stay longer than 2 days, I'll give you a hammer and put you to work. So he made that very clear.
Okay. Stephanie also says, please let me address this on stream. If you want to, we could set up a stream for that. And Nitty's saying let stuff on too.
You said that you on Discord, I think.
Oh shoot! I never look at Discord while I'm on the show.
Yeah, me neither.
Let me see here. I can do the thing.
To check at one point or another, things to check your Discord. One thing that just drives me crazy is when people have the beeps on their Discord on a stream. That drives me nuts, because even though I'm usually on Do Not Disturb, so that I still check my Discord. Like when the beep comes through the screen, I'm like, oh, someone's messaged me. And then I'll do it again like 2 seconds later. It's almost like a Pavlovian response, like a dog pressing a button and getting a treat. It's terrible. Streamer mode, people. Streamer mode. Anyway, do you want to get back to the thing? We've gone on a way wide tangent.
It's almost done. There's only like
okay
pages left. But I was just cracking up here because, like, oh my god. So the next question is rumor. 3 people have drowned at Dal. And he says this is not true. So notice how he set that up, because only one person is drowned.
Right.
It's not true that 3 people have drowned. And then look,
does he say one person?
He then goes on, but like what was making me crack up earlier was like he's got one paragraph. Like this is where he asks the question. He's got one paragraph where he answers it, and the very next paragraph, like in the same section, like he's answering the questions about the drowning. He says, "I called the Marathon headquarters." The Marathon gas station where these people were talking. He called Marathon headquarters in Findlay, Ohio today to find the proper method of registering a complaint in case this slander of my name or my ministry's name continues. So like he's supposed to be addressing the whole drowning thing, the kid who died on Dal, and he's just going on. He says, now if there are any other rumors, please call me. I've lodged a complaint with Marathon headquarters, and employees there should be doing their job selling gas and not spreading rumors about Dinosaur Adventure Land. Like, this is just like unhinged.
It's a little wonky. Okay, we have a Steph, so let's go on another tangent and see if we can settle responsible platforming here.
Yeah.
Hello, Steph.
Let's don't go on another tangent. I don't want to go on another tangent right now, because this is what we need to be doing. Keep going, Grayson. This is gorgeous.
Yeah, we're
Keep going.
we're almost
So
done
what-
with this.
issue,
It
Steph?
gets
You
even
obviously
more
have
insane.
some sort of issue. What's the issue?
It's a matter of what, given the urgency of what's going on politically, it's like, how do we address
There's a lot going
the
on
movement? We have an election coming up in the United States of America where we're basically going to be deciding whether a Christian nationalist party takes over the governance of the most powerful nation state in the world.
Yeah, and I'm
to
concerned
me,
about that.
Yeah, you should be, and certainly the citizens who are going to be making that decision are as well. And I want to make a little bit of a clarion call to how we engage some of the people who are the primary spokesmen for that both religious and political outlook. The people behind the movement, the money behind the movement, are addressed by people who are standing in opposition to their actually taking political power.
So how does
that make
this
sense? And
hang on, Steph. Steph. No, Steph. You're not just going to talk and sort of monologue for ages. This is going to be a discussion. We have to have a back and forth. We have to have a discussion about this. So what I don't get is how this relates to Grayson going to Dinosaur Adventure Land, because one of the things that concerns me as well, and there's a lot of things that concern. Now, this is going to be a discussion, okay? A lot of things concern me. One of them is that those Christian fundamentalists, those sort of people, they do want to stop education as well, and specifically science education. So people like Grayson push back on this science idea, but what I don't get is why what we're doing is sort of what did you say? Providing dressing for it. I don't understand that.
Okay, so this is more of a thought of a thought about strategy and tactics. Okay.
Well, it's
I am not. If I could speak as well, I'd appreciate it. Okay. So I think that we need to think with empathy about the strategy that our opponents are employing. I think that often we who do not have the funding or the base or the subs or the this or the that. I mean, if you look at atheist channels overall in this space, in YouTube or anywhere really, I mean, look at where the money is and look at where the message is being delivered from. We are dealing with people with tremendous amounts of funding. Americans Defending Freedom is a huge organization with lots of dough. You and me and all of us who are standing in opposition to the programs that these organizations are are propounding and wishing to enact in law and are actually being successful in doing so, we need to be cognizant of what we are up to,
I agree with
what
that,
we are facing, and so Mark,
Yeah.
I am not saying I've got something else going on in my earbuds at the moment.
I get that they've got a lot of funding and they've got
Right.
these people in positions where they
Yeah.
have power. And if any of them would debate me, I would happily debate them. But
So-
they're not the ones debating, right? They're not the ones I can get to step into a ring with me and have a debate. What
They're like
they do is they
disciplines.
influence politicians with that amount of capital that they have. They're not coming onto YouTube and debating. Now, my channel, as it says in my intro, I push back against all bad ideas, ones that are bad. And that is a bad idea. The Christo-fascist ideas are terrible, yes. But the people stepping up to debate them are not the people with the money and power that you're talking about. So I'm doing what I can, because I can't
course
just
you
go
are.
up to these people and debate them in the street.
I'm not saying that you shouldn't do what you were doing. I am saying that we need to be strategic and careful in entering into conversations with people with huge outreach that have huge funding behind them.
But I think
I am not saying that you don't have an influence in doing what you are doing. I am saying that we need to be strategic in how we do what we do and how we can do it together to affect the kind of effective resistance to a massively funded program that is aimed at doing serious damages to members of our community.
So I can definitely acknowledge and agree with what you're saying, Stephanie. But I think in this instance, I don't think Kent Hovind or the people that Mark, Ember, or myself engage with are very particularly well-funded, well-connected politically. I don't think that they're those people that you're describing. And I think that an example of someone who I think does a really good job of confronting some of the actual people that you're talking about that are well-funded, well-connected politically is someone like Jon Stewart, where he does engage with these people. And he, in particularly, when he interviews these politicians or these fundraising guys or girls, he literally he makes them look stupid. He makes people laugh at them, and
Sure.
he sets it up, I think, in a great way. I mean, I think that he has a great strategy, and that's sort of a little bit what I'm doing on my channel is I try to illustrate why these ideas are bunk and nonsense, and why no rational person should agree with these people, and could recognize that they're very, very dumb, and so are their ideas. And so,
and the thing I want to say
you
is
do it very, very well, Grayson. I'm not here to.
All movements have to start somewhere, right? Where we're getting together, we're making a community. We have things that we fight for. We're banding together. What part of all of this is window dressing on what we're trying to do? I don't understand how it's window dressing. I don't understand that.
I'm sorry that the use of that terminology seems to be triggering.
Well, I don't understand it. I don't understand.
Well, if you would let me, I would love to. I would love, the issue is that look at the way. Let's just take one particular example. I did a 5-minute clip on nothing but the promotion that Modern Day Debates did for a stream that posed the question. Well, how did they exactly put it? I want to get this right. I didn't want to launch into this whole thing because I think that what you were doing moments ago before you insisted on let's launch into this stuff is extremely positive because it would Mark.
Stephanie, you've made comments in chat, then demanded to be on stream, and then we've asked you about your comment.
I asked to make this a consideration. I wanted to let the conversation proceed. For some reason, you wanted to force the conversation here, and it's okay. I'll do it, but give me a moment.
You said, please let me address this on stream. It is a problem of project. It is an important conversation and it's rather urgent. And then you said, Ember, see Discord kind of thing.
It is.
Okay. Well,
and I just asked, I asked Ember to, maybe give me a link. And, it's like, and she gave me a link. And that's fine. And I just want to frame the idea. I don't know why I'm getting so much pushback here, because I am basically saying, but
I want to ask you a question.
No, I didn't ask a question, Mark. You could let me finish what I'm saying.
Okay. Go for it.
Perhaps. I think that everything that Grayson did in that debate was awesome. I don't think everybody's Grayson. I think that a lot of people chase these arenas of engagement and don't do it well. And it doesn't do us well. And the Andrew Wilsons of the world and the people that want to play, the people that simply are looking for controversy to spread before the world, want people who'll provide that controversy. This person got destroyed. This person did this. This person did the other thing. And it becomes nothing more than looking at a train wreck. And I think that's a danger strategically and tactically, and I think we need to be smarter than that. Okay.
Well, I think you've made your point. You've made your point, right? That some people aren't as doing good as Grayson, and I agree with that. I do agree. Grayson did amazing. He does an amazing job. I do not have control over everybody out there. I only have control over what I do and what I choose to do. Now, I can point out, hey, this is where Grayson did amazing. What I'm not doing is pointing out somebody that's did really terribly and going, hey, do this kind of thing. I'm saying take a leaf from Grayson's book, use critical thinking, use all the knowledge that he's gathered, use all of these things that he put to practice. Don't chase Kent down rabbit holes. I'm trying to help people so they know how to address these arguments. And that's what my channel's about. Now, you've sort of said, hey, some people don't do it well. And I've asked, who is that? Who is that? Who on this panel is that?
I'm not going to engage. I'm not going to engage in a call out. This is what I'm trying to say. I'm not going to engage in a call out of this person did poorly and this person did well. Far be it from me to make those judgments. I am not setting myself up as some sort of queen god. I am asking us all to consider the strategic issues, the value of engaging with particularly look, Hovind at this point is a clown. And a number of people have painted themselves into a very clownish corner. But there are people who are extraordinarily dangerous and that are, in fact, well-funded. And that throw out bait to get people to come in and get batted about.
I get that, but I also think
far too often we wind up being the victims, even when we wish to do good.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but you know, if somebody's sort of getting somebody in to get batted about, that's not me, and that's not Grayson, and it's not Ember.
I didn't say it was you.
So I don't
Mark,
know
and
why
I
you're
don't
just sort of
say it's you.
Excuse me, Steph. I don't know why you're disrupting the stream to come in and make all these comments about other people, and say that it's an urgent conversation to have when we're doing a stream on how amazing Grayson did at Dinosaur Adventure Land. It feels like to me, and I'm not going to apologize for how I feel, it feels like to me you are hijacking a stream for your own motivations, your own concerns, your own things.
No,
that's what it feels like to me.
I'm sorry it feels like that to you, because it's not what I'm trying to do. I am not trying to make this personal in any way, shape, or form. I give you all the credit. I give Ember all the credit. I give Grayson all the credit for doing everything they've done. However, there are examples out there in our world where such is not the case.
I think Kata has a question that might help clarify.
I'll be happy to leave. I'll be happy to leave this and let it go back, because I really wanted Grayson to carry on and do the things I'd like to see being done.
Then what do you want to see? This is the question Kat is asking. What do you want to see? Help us understand.
I want to see Grayson do what he said before. You know, I wanted to have this conversation. I wanted to have this conversation. Grayson was doing a deconstruction of the bullshit that was coming out in the aftermath of his interaction. And I think that's important. And I think if you go back to my two comments, it was like, first, there's an issue strategically and tactically as to how we engage with the people who want to see us gone. And secondly, if an interaction between someone like Grayson and someone like Hovind leads to what you were reviewing, that's good.
So what would you like to see instead? What would you like to see instead?
There isn't an instead, Mark. This is not an either or. You were trying to make this, for some reason, into a black and white. I am actually praising you. Do you not see that?
No, because you've come in and said that we're window dressing for some other issue, and then you won't basically say what we're doing that is window dressing. You haven't explained that in any way. You're just sort of saying, hey.
Does anyone else on this panel grok what I'm talking about?
Anybody? Like, seriously, I do want to understand. So if you do know, please let me know.
I mean, I can understand like the point Stephanie is making about, you know, potential pitfalls, or to be cognizant of the way that some of these people are interacted with. I mean, I can understand like the basic like message of all that, I guess. I mean, I think that we did do a good job with that for like this stream, or with the debate with Kent. I mean, of making Kent and his ideas look very silly and unenviable. So, yeah, I mean, it's something to always, like, if you're out there, or if any time that we do engage with these people, I mean, it is something to be cognizant about, is to, like, you know, what is the strategy for going into this interaction? Like, I mean, I did, somebody brought it up in the comments, like just a couple days ago, like I had a stream with Andrew Wilson, and I thought I could have done a better job on that, because I didn't know what we were going to be talking about, or where the host was going to be taking the things. And it was like, you know, sort of in some areas where my knowledge is not as, I'm not as confident in, rather than like the science topics. What?
Was it philosophy kind of stuff?
No, it wasn't even philosophy. It was just like, I mean, he always tries to bring up trans issues, and like I would consider myself an ally, but I'm not an expert on that stuff. And like,
Right, gotcha.
so I'm giving like
He
answers.
wasn't even.
Like I'm giving
And,
answers to the best of my ability, but
yeah.
like generally, like he was just really pissing me off, and I was just getting really mean. And so I feel like, you know, I mean, there were some good moments. I mean, it's definitely like I was trying not to make his side look good at all, but I think that maybe like I was so mean and bullying him so hard that it might have made my side look worse. I don't know. I don't know exactly how I came across in that debate. I'm not like super proud of it because like I said, I mean, I would just like spewing a lot of very rude comments at him. But like, yeah, I mean, I wish I had been maybe a little bit smarter about that. I mean, Ember even tried to warn me not to go on that stream, and I was just like, I mean, maybe I wasn't as prepared in the topics that I like knew that Andrew was probably going to bring up, but I thought we were just going to be talking about science or whatever because it was supposed to be a panel about like atheism or whatever. So I should have known better because he literally has a track record of doing that before. And I don't think like, I don't know. I don't think I did a poor job in it or whatever, but I do think that I kind of like got too angry on the guy because he's just such a piece of filth.
But you can look at it and go, hey, here's how I should have responded. Like when Kent baits you, this was a much better example, sure.
Mm-hmm.
I get you. Because there was certain times where he was definitely trying to poke and prod you, and you didn't rise to it. It was good. So yeah, and I mean that's part of the learning process. I get that. I just like I just why are we going through a completely different debate now when we started out on a part 2 of a debate review?
My takeaway, and I may be off on this, is that Grayson did do a fantastic job at Dinosaur Adventure Land, and people who want to go fight theists should absolutely try to emulate Grayson in knowing what they're up against, being prepared with quality information, and not walking into a trap. But the flip side to that is people may want to emulate Grayson and go fight theists even harder because they want to, have that victory. Look, these guys are idiots. Look how easily Grayson took them down. I don't have to prepare. I can just go in fist swinging, and then they get knocked down by, a straw man or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't help. So yes, on the one hand, be like Grayson, but on the other hand, be prepared. Yeah. Do it like Grayson does. Don't just go and do it because you assume your opponents are idiots.
And yeah, and really what I'm saying is there is more of a mission, I feel, being projected by many of the opponents that we engage with. More of a political mission, more of an actual action on the ground sort of mission that we're dealing with when it comes to the people we often talk to. They literally want to change laws. They literally want to do stuff. They are literally engaged in the process of doing so in real time and in real states and in real races in a quest for political power to make their views law. And I think that, that calls for some reflection as to what they're up to, and how we engage and in these conversations.
Sure, but as you know, our own reach is rather limited. Like, we can't
exactly
go after Ken Ham and so forth. But I will add, there's as a takeaway.
I have. I got demonetized for that.
Well,
Yeah,
yes, you can do a reaction video, but you can't like
Yeah, exactly.
get him to debate you personally.
Right.
But one thing that we could do to be more conscientious going forward is when we're offered a debate or a proposal, or we just want to take on somebody, we weigh the situation instead of saying, yay, let's go get this fight because I want to fight or because I think I can win or whatever. We evaluate it in terms of our goals. Will this engagement further our goals, or is it just to win a fight, you know? And if it doesn't serve our purposes, then we shouldn't do it.
That's literally the only thing I wanted to bring forward, is that we need to keep that in mind. And it certainly wasn't my intent to say, you know, that this is a complete failure because you're engaging this person in this place. Everybody needs to make their own decisions as to what they wish to do, how they wish to do it, all of that. That's what creators do, and that's fine. And nobody gets privileged to say, well, this is garbage, you know, and therefore you're excommunicated. That's adopting the language of the enemy. It's like, oh, this is cancel culture. Oh, Stephanie's coming on to cancel Mark Reed, coming on to cancel base theory, coming on to cancel Ember. That's not what I am saying. I'm saying just we all need to be cognizant of the real shit.
Okay. So, you know, I love you, Steph, but what we do on our own channels has a certain goal in mind, and it might not be the same goal as you. And
you're free to do what you want, Mark. You don't.
Well,
you
I'm
don't
not,
seem
because
to be hearing me saying do what you
so
will.
if I could finish, right? They may not be the same goal as you, and those goals may overlap, but they may not be the same. And I'm really sorry, but you're going to have to accept that, because it is the reality of the situation. That my goal
do we conflict, Mark?
is to, well, my goal is to unite all humanity, as it says on my trailer, all humanity. And that will involve talking to people that I personally absolutely vehemently disagree with and think that their ideas are absolutely terrible. That will involve that. It will. There's no getting around that. Now, the thing is that I believe that good arguments and that philosophy is the great equalizer. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how much power you have. An argument will stand on its own merits regardless of who is making it. I can be an impoverished person with no political power in another country. My arguments will stand on their own. I don't need that money and power to make a good argument. And so that is what I am aimed to do, is to make good arguments so that hopefully, and what I think people will do, is they will hear the arguments and go, maybe I should rethink that. Take a step back. Maybe I should doubt what that person is saying. Maybe I can change somebody's mind. Maybe it's almost nothing in the grand scheme of things, but it's my life and I'm going to try, because what's my options? I don't have a ton of money. I don't have a ton of reach. All I can do is make rational, logical arguments and hope that people do listen to rationality and reason. And that's what I'm doing. And today we had a stream of somebody that did that in such a profound way, such an amazing way. They went into a place where people can be completely differently and tried to change their minds. Even if they didn't change one person's mind, I want to celebrate that that person tried as hard as possible to do so. And that was the purposes of today's stream.
We're united in that. We're united in that. I absolutely do. And I didn't come in to shit on somebody's approach. And I'm not here to shit on your approach.
Well,
you know, I have to ask. I'm you know, unite all of humanity in what? When there is a certain subset of humanity that is literally trying to eliminate another subset of humanity, I don't know how we join together in common cause to oppose that particular idea.
To survive is your answer.
Huh?
To survive is your answer.
is my answer? No, I'm
Yes, you
asking
asked,
a
what are you
question.
uniting humanity in? To survive. This
Okay.
petty and this,
There-
basically othering of people and fighting among ourselves is like ants on a tiny raft in the middle of a river fighting over who should be on the raft. It's ridiculous.
I'm not going to get into personalities, but there are, in fact, individuals who are identifiable who would like me not to survive, Mark. What do you do with
And
them?
there we have why you're on here, Steph. You've got one aspect of a sort of a political message that I happen to
Mark,
agree with. I 100% agree with you.
Then
Yes.
what
But
will you do?
I'm doing it. I am making
No, you're not.
arguments.
You want to embrace what part of it is all very well and good to talk about embracing all of humanity, but what do you do with portions of humanity that wish to eliminate other portions of humanity? I think that is that is a notion that people need to address, and people need to see that such clusters of humanity do in fact exist, and they are bold in their declarations about elimination. And I apologize that it is very, very delicate to point out that some of us belong to the very groups that people are seeking to eliminate. I don't seek to eliminate anyone.
Okay, so what can I do? What do I do? Right. So that's the question you're asking. What do I do? I try to change their minds. I try to get them to think critically, because when you do think critically, people who have been fundamentalist Christians are not fundamentalist Christians anymore. People can change their minds. And the more people that change their minds, the less power these people have. Really, in our current democracy, power is derived from mandates of the masses. So if you can get more people to agree with you, then you will have more power. Every single popular election has determined that. And all I can do is give arguments, rationality, and reasoning as to why this idea is a flawed concept. It is not a good idea. It is a bad idea to eliminate a certain population segment because you have religious beliefs that they shouldn't exist. It's a ridiculously bad idea. But at the end of the day, what I am focused on is how to give these arguments to change people's minds, not necessarily the individual policies or the individual issues that are sort of being put across. And yes, I have my favorite issues that I know a lot about. I know a lot about flat earth. I know a lot about religion. I know about, about all these things. But at the end of the day, I'm more focused on how to make arguments to change minds, how to actually get them.
Would you agree with me? Would you agree with me that people who disagree with your particular argumentation are doing exactly the same thing?
Yes.
And that their arguments can prevail. Your arguments may not succeed. Would you not agree with me that history gives us example after example after example where arguments that you and I would perhaps posit, perhaps 90 years ago, failed?
This is the thing, like what the problem here is that good arguments will always win out. And it may not be today and it may not be tomorrow, but they will always win out.
That's cold comfort for people in 1933 to 1945, Mark. I'm sorry.
Okay, so stop interrupting me. Stop interrupting me.
Mark, please.
No. Psychological studies have shown that good arguments will sway more people than bad ones. You are basically doing a slippery slope. Excuse me, can I talk, please, on the show that I'm a co-host on?
You can indict yourself from here to Sunday.
Okay, I think I'm just going to leave because this has just become a ridiculous thing. Look, all I can do, I don't have control over
No, no,
what
no.
people
No,
believe.
Mark.
All
No,
I
Mark.
can
No,
do,
Mark. No,
okay,
Mark. I'll leave. Okay?
Okay.
We'll all leave. But I was trying to actually have a conversation here.
Nobody knows
And
what
it
you
seems
wanted
it seems to me to be philosophically
Okay,
and
Steph,
fundamentally
Steph,
flawed.
Steph, you are now just being really rude. Okay, you're being rude to me. You're being rude to the host. You're being rude to everybody. You're talking over the top of me when I try to. Yeah, okay.
Well,
Yeah, it's a touchy subject. Obviously I understand
I get that.
why Steph is so passionate about it, because people's lives really are at risk, and it's it's my kid is trans too. I worry about this all the time. Like, I could go back in the box and fake pass the rest of my life if I have to, but I want my kid to have a happy life and not be under threat. I get it. But at the same time, like, as you were saying, Mark, what are we supposed to do? Like, what's the alternative to using our words and making good arguments? Yeah, not every argument is going to prevail. Sometimes we're going to lose a round. But what else can we do if we really want to stand on our principles that humans are not our enemies, that we're all on the same side, or at least should be?
And if I want to stand by my principles that I'm not going to use violence to achieve my ends, what else do I have except my mind and what I can present? I don't understand what I have to do if I'm not going to make arguments on the internet. And I get it. It's a very urgent topic. I get that. I try to point it out all the time. The problem is that my channel isn't dedicated to trans issues. I'm sorry, it's not. It's not focused on that. It's Mark Reed atheism, not Mark Reed trans. I'm really sorry, but I have a channel that's dedicated to atheism. And part of my secular humanism says absolutely trans people are important. Their healthcare should be affirmed. Their identities should be affirmed. Absolutely 100% on board with that. But that's not what my channel is about. I'm really sorry. And I can only do what I do. I can't make people listen to me. I can't make people change their minds. All I can do is present the arguments. And so I feel like I'm trying my hardest to make a channel based upon atheism and what I want to discuss, and support the trans community. And I feel like nothing I do is good enough. And this is the problem. And it's something I've talked to with Steph about before. What is this window? Does anyone know what window dressing we're doing? Because I never got an answer to that.
I think I don't want to beat off further into the weeds on things, but to answer the question,
I think that boat has sailed, mate. I think that
fair.
that ship has 100% sailed.
Yeah, it maybe I'm mistaken on this, but it seems to me that the window dressing thing is well, as someone else brought up earlier, Matt Dillahunty versus Daniel Pikachu. If Matt had never debated him, he would never have gotten anywhere near the platform he has today, because arguing with that asshole legitimized him. Even though Matt spanked his ass and won that debate and showed, thousands of people that he had terrible, terrible ideas, it still brought Daniel to more people's attention. So it kind of backfired in a way. But, I would like to say, however, that the one thing that everyone, including Stephanie, agreed on is that Grayson did fantastic at DAL. And so if people are on board for it, I'd like to, finish off the debate, so at least it's, I'm a completionist.
Totally
I-
fair.
What do you mean finish off? Didn't we finish it off? Or are you talking about with the,
Well,
the
could you at
question?
least read the rest of that thing you were reading out? Because we all agree that is hilarious and very, very silly of Hovind to do so. You know,
Yeah, I kind of got to switch gears here because that was a lot.
yeah, sorry, mate. I didn't. Yeah, my apologies.
Where were we? I think we're on the last question. Or no, that was it. There are wait. Okay. No, never mind. There's something really weird on the last page of this here. Where it's like there's no question on the last page, but it goes into this whole thing that's just like it says about Amanda. And it says dear staff at DAL. Because apparently there's like a missing person or something that was last seen at DAL, and that's the rumor. Kent said that yesterday I went down to downtown Monroeville, near the square to pay the lady we rent the spot on Highway 84 from for the dinosaur sign, and he gives us lots of personal details about this woman. And he said that there's another dispatcher at the window, and I invited her to visit Dinosaur Adventure Land. She said, I don't think I want to go there. My mother went there over a year ago and stayed a few weeks and disappeared. We haven't seen her since. And I said, and this is Kent, what's her name? Maybe I can find her. She said this woman's name is Amanda, but she had big problems with drugs, and I don't want to find her. I'm glad she's gone. Or words to that effect. So Kent is paraphrasing her there. And then he said, I vaguely recall a woman in her mid-50s coming here and saying that she had nowhere to go and no one to help her. So we took her in for a few days and made our rules clear to her. No alcohol, no drugs. She must work in the ministry to earn her keep. She stayed a few days and disappeared. Anyway, when I got back to camp, I asked the staff here who might have been here over a year ago if they remembered a lady named Amanda. Some people vaguely remembered her, but she wandered off without telling anyone. This may tie in with the ladies at Marathon telling me they had people walking up there asking for drugs and alcohol. And then he says, apparently, the entire Amanda episode is the source of the rumors that Dal has dead bodies buried here, or I have another wife locked in a trailer. Anyway, he says, I would like to get the FBI or someone to find Amanda and put the rumors to rest. So, yeah, I'm not getting any concern for this woman's safety from him. More like he just wants to do this for damage control for his own theme park and his own personal reputation. But then he says, if any of you have any details, please contact me about Amanda. Which is like this. I had no idea about any of this. Pretty freaking insane. So.
Yeah, like, why? There's so much fucked up about that. But first of all, why so many whys? Why is that in there? Why does he think that makes him not look like a cult? What is the deal with Amanda, and why would he say all those things if he thinks he's a potential suspect in her disappearance? And also, why is the FBI not investigating this person's disappearance at a place where people have literally died before?
Yeah. I would like the FBI to investigate this whole story and go to Dinosaur Adventure Land and do an investigation. Maybe
that's the reason for the drones flying over.
Yeah, there you go. And then the last thing on this last page here. By the way, this thing ends on a cliffhanger. I must warn you, you will not get any closure at this manifesto. There's no conclusion.
Good.
And Kent did when he gave this to me. He said, this is just a first draft. So, but this is the last paragraph here. Our neighbor to the east, I'm not going to say his name, used to help here at Dal, but got mad and left over our teaching that a Christian cannot lose their salvation. I'm sure that's why he got mad and left. He created enough stink over this that we finally had to ban him from the property. I know of only 2 people that we have done this to in 8 years. He texted me over the last few weeks accusing me of a lot of things, such as being a pedophile enabler and possibly one myself. And that is the end. He does not address or answer those accusations. The whole manifesto literally ends on the accusation that Kent himself is a pedophile. And then he doesn't respond. That was it. That's literally the last sentence. So, yikes. Big old bowl of yikes. I don't really know what else to say about this manifesto that literally does not address whether or not Dal is a cult at all.
Correct.
And in fact, makes it seem like more of a cult.
I feel like one point should have stumbled accidentally over relevance. Like it would be relevant in some way if you just wrote down random points, but literally none of that is. So I found a really good definition of what a cult was while we were waiting. So characteristics of a cult, according to Sasha Blakely, who I believe is a doctor in sociology, is a charismatic leader, ideological purity. Members are strongly discouraged from questioning the cult's doctrine. Any cult bouts are met with shame or punishment. And that's the important part, the shame and punishment kind of thing. Conformity of control, great control of members' lives, including dictating what they can wear and eat and what kinds of relationships they can have. Conformity is also enforced by group members who police one another. This might not be true. Mind-altering practice, sleep deprivation, chanting, meditation, and drugs are used to break down individuals' desires. Isolation and love bombing. It's common for people in cults to be encouraged to cut contact with outsiders, including close family members. Within the cult, new members are often subjected to love bombing, a practice where new initiates are showered with love and praise to bring them deeper into the cult and foster a sense of belonging. Us versus them mentality. Cult members are discouraged to see the cult as superior to life on the outside and feel those outside the cult lack understanding or insight. That absolutely applies. Apocalyptic thinking. Preparation for a supposed apocalypse or cataclysmic event. That's 100% accurate. Time and energy. Followers are expected to dedicate huge amounts of time and energy and often money to the cult in exclusion to their own lives, interests, jobs, and families. And that's just a basic rundown. So none of those actually addressed whether it falls into those specific things.
And also, like, most of those do, in fact, apply to Kent Hovind and Dinosaur Adventure Land. So,
yep.
I mean, he literally talks about how he excommunicated his neighbor and banned him from the property because of a doctrinal issue. So there goes the purity of ideology. He literally mandates that nobody on the premises is allowed to drink or,
I heard that. I heard you say that. What, even outside of the premise? Like, I'd understand if he wants to run a dry premises, one with no alcohol, no drugs, no smoking. Like, I totally understand
as well.
That's wrong. You can't dictate to people what they do away from the property that they're living on, kind of thing. If you own the property and they're living, I mean, I still think that even on a property, you if they're renting off you or something, you shouldn't be able to dictate to them what they do, kind of thing. You certainly shouldn't be able to dictate what they do off that property.
Yeah. And I mean, he's got his weekly services, or I think it's multiple times a week. And I think that they're like required to attend. So I don't know, man. It's definitely
probably, yeah.
If it looks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, what can I say? It's probably a cult.
All ducks are a cult. Ooh. Do cults weigh as much as a duck? Are they made out of wood? I know, bad Ember. Monty Python. Not the time. Read the room, Ember. Just trying to add some silliness.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate you guys doing this review of the debate. I am going to go back and re-listen to some of it, because I do think that you guys offer valuable insights on breaking down these debates. So I appreciate you doing it for one of my debates. I think it was a good one. I had fun anyway. So thank you guys for doing this.
I'm really sorry it's sort of changed direction really fast, Grayson. I really do apologize, mate, for
Well,
that.
Things happen. I mean, it was, there are important issues that need to be talked about and everything too. So
Yeah. No, there definitely are. I think, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I appreciate you coming on and adding that manifesto. That was just a cherry on top.
Yeah. But I keep
for
doing
anyone
what you're
interested that
doing.
wants to read it, I did upload I scanned and uploaded the manifesto. I think it's in the description of the video of my debate, but the video of my trip with the footage from the trip. The link should be in the description if you want to read the whole manifesto yourself, because we just kind of hit the highlights.
Oh my goodness. There's going to be a collection of Kent Hovind extraneous materials from his doctorate to this, and probably a gazillion other things.
And keep doing what you're doing, Grayson. Keep doing what you're doing. I absolutely love it. You're doing amazing. I really do think so. So one of these days I will have you on my channel. I will interview. I promise. We got to set that down, and we'll do that because you definitely deserve it. If you do want to, don't let me pressure you.
I do want to, yeah.
Okay, that would be fantastic.
I always like talking with you, Mark, and you, Ember. So
hell yeah, do a reading room.
Yeah. Have I interviewed you yet, Ember? Didn't I interview you really early on? Didn't I do that?
I don't know if we ever did. I think we just went straight into the. I know we talked about it, but we just kind of, went with our debate review thing.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I got to line up that as well, so definitely I'd love. I have all these people I meet that I love and are just amazing. Let's describe them as fountains of information, and I never have them on. So I must learn to use people more. That sounds terrible. That sounds really terrible, but
how dare you?
Well, I think in any movement, any community, people are a resource kind of thing. So I think that Ember, you've got amazing resources on cosmology and all that kind of things. It's just amazing. And Grayson, you on biology, which is a weak point of mine. And I've learned a lot from both of you. So thank you so much. And we'll start to tee stuff up.
Yeah. Good stuff still coming.
We got to talk about cosmology sometime. I'm right now I'm auditing a graduate level course in cosmology, so we definitely got to talk shop.
Oh, I see how it is. You're going to get ahead of me on that one too.
Oh, okay, all right. Hey, I'm all for it. The more Grayson gets ahead of me, the less I have to work to learn this stuff.
That's a good point. Yeah. Just point everybody at Grayson. Talk to him.
I mean, yeah, I have weaknesses too. Geology is probably a weakness of mine. I need to shore up my geology knowledge.
All right. Just 1 second. Can we please just get some love hearts in chat? Can we please just acknowledge that we're part of one community and we disagree? That's fine. Siblings disagree all the time. Just put some love hearts in chat and let's just forgive one another. Things are floating around chat. I really think we should just sort of. Thanks, Pinworm.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. We got some friendliness. Yeah. There's days, after the ASHO thing, I really worry about this community sometimes because there's so many people here that I really, really enjoy having around. Were very, very important to me. And when the fighting happens and people get all mad at each other, I'm like, oh no, it's happening again. I just even Earl got a crumpled heart out.
Thanks, sir. I appreciate it.
I appreciate that. And Robin going above and beyond, of course, and a $2 super chat. Thanks, Mark, Grayson, and Ember with the hearts. No, I appreciate you guys coming. I appreciate the differences in opinions. Yeah. It just, please remember to be kind to each other because we are all humans together. Before we go, what do you folks have coming up for the future people?
Yeah, I think I've got an interview with Mark Stoney coming up. I hope. I really have to reconfirm. He's not an email person, I've found out. But I hopefully he's still on board. I can probably catch him on a stream and just ask, make sure. Yeah, I think I want to play some more games with Justin, and I want to I want to I've got a Room Rumble coming out as well, with a few of the people, which is quite good. It was actually a good conversation. It was an argument with Mark Stoney, but it was a good conversation. So I immediately invited him on my channel, because when somebody sort of argues against me, that's the first thing I generally do, which is that's okay. But Grayson, what do you got going on, mate?
I don't think I have any like formal debates on the schedule yet, but I'm always, one of the issues I've been having is like I keep trying to set up debates and then people like ghost me. Like I set up a debate with Darth Dawkins. He told me the time, the place. I showed up. He never showed up. I waited for like 4 hours. No show. Now he won't respond to my messages. I don't know what happened there. I've challenged Witsit to a debate like a million times over the last few months, and he won't do it. But he pops up in streams and talks.
But Witsit just pretend to be really stupid. Witsit doesn't like talking to people that know what they're talking about. He was like, I have to be very selective about my debates because I'm so busy. And then I see him on Modern Day Debate all the time, debating with people that I've like never debated Flat Earth before. I'm like, what are you doing? All right, he knows what he's doing, but yeah. And then even just like random people that don't even have a YouTube channel will like message me and be like, hey, I want to debate you. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, here's a time and place. And like, bet. And then they like cancel at the last minute and then don't respond when I try to reschedule. I'm like, I don't get why I keep coming up with people like not following through with their debates. So I don't have anything scheduled yet, but I've been working on a video about multiple videos. One about like lesser known examples of transitional fossils that I think are really cool. I actually learned of a new one that's named after my hometown, like from Dallas. And I learned about Dallosaurus, which is like like in whale evolution, how you have like from land, like mammals to marine mammals. Like you have the same thing with marine reptiles in the Mesozoic, and the transitional species is Dallosaurus, found in Dallas County. I'm like, holy crap, I didn't know anything about this. And yeah, I looked at it, the fossil site where they got it from, and apparently they've developed it into a housing development. Like, so they built over this fossil site. And I'm like, oh, that really freaking sucks, and it's perfect for Dallas actually. And then I'm also working on a video about the power spectrum of the cosmic microwave background, which is what I consider to be the strongest single piece of evidence for the current consensus model of cosmology. So I'm excited for those videos. Not really debate content, but science content. And I love science.
Yeah.
So
for science. Hell yeah.
Excelsior.
Quite so. Hooligan throws another $2 alleged and says Grayson owes me $5 Canadian from the line.
I will give you that $5.
Don't you dare.
When I go and join your Maple Left compound.
There you go.
If it's $5 Canadian, I think it's about 2 cents US. That's about the
something like that. Jester Lord of Fools popping in with lots of green hearts. $2. Thank you so much. And says it's okay. We're all one team. Blame Jester. Yes, I will blame Jester. And also Tapioca Weasel. Praise the Weasel. Where's that damn Weasel? He's got a cult now, which, to do my own plugs for tomorrow, first I'll be probably on Brentley's Punk Apostate. We're doing a thing. I asked him for the times moments ago. So we don't know what time yet, but we're going to do a thing. And then later, my normal Sunday show at the regular time, 8 Eastern, that'll lead into my Bad Science Sunday, where we can, go enjoy the Weasel cult and such. And I've got some stuff planned. Big stars, for starters. So it should be a fun time. Yeah, and Mark, did you already go? I saw you mentioned something about room room. I'm sorry, my brain is fried.
No, all good. No, it's fine. It's
I mean,
don't-
we've been
don't worry
streaming for almost 4 hours at this point.
Yeah, don't worry your pretty little ears over it. It's perfectly fine. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I love that hat. I love that hat.
I just happened to be walking past a Nordstrom rack, and I saw there was a clearance, not really an aisle. It was just a shelving unit with hats on it, and I'm like, well, hell yeah! And I go in. Most of the hats are too small because my head is freaking freakishly large. But buried under all the other hats was this hat, and I'm like, I can wear headphones with that hat.
Yeah, there you go.
And it was $5. I'm like, yep, you're coming with me. So yeah, good times. Well, thank you guys for joining. It's been a crazy stream, but as always, I appreciate you being here, Mark, with the insights and debate experience in areas, as we've often said, we have different specialties and they complement each other nicely. Grayson, for dropping by with your own insights and additional nuggets of study. And once again, fantastic job. I definitely could not have done that well. I don't think I ever would have gone to DAL on my own. I don't want to be near Kent. But, like we were discussing earlier, the decisions we make should be in service to our goals. And I saw that's what you were doing here. You were like, let's take the battle to the enemy kind of thing. And it was very well done. And everybody else, hell yeah. Thanks for joining us. Next week, the debate review's back over on Mark's channel. We don't know what the topic is yet, but we usually have a good time with those. So yeah, I reckon, again, my brain is fried, so I apologize, folks. I cannot outro properly today. But I do appreciate y'all for coming, for watching, and
like and subscribe. It really helps out Ember. Ember also has a Patreon that she's forgetting about completely, because you've got to forget something. So if you do want to support Ember and you don't want YouTube to take a horrendous amount, just visit the Patreon. It's down the bottom. She's hiding it right now, but it is down there. Patreon.com/better than religion.
Hell yeah.
You've got a
Thank you, Mark.
or something.
It works. Although my kids were making fun of me about that. Speaking of kids, join the Discord. They yell at me when I don't say that. And also link up with the gang on Gather. We're going to talk about that a little bit more tomorrow too. But the link for that is in the description as well. So, yes. Thank you, folks. It's been a heck of a night. But, we still have a lot of work to do. And I appreciate everybody being here to push the ball a little further forward. So, yeah. Good night, everyone.